100 years wasted, yet enlightenment came in a single night, right before death. When you first transmigrated to this cultivation world, you had only one thought in your mind. And that was to cultivate at all costs, to live forever. But reality dealt you a harsh blow. You went to the Supreme Tao sect to become a disciple, only to be weeded out in the first round. You tried to become a Buddhist monk, but were told you lacked the spiritual aptitude. Then you considered joining a demonic sect, but feared being sacrificed to create a 10,000 souls banner. You never stumbled upon any fortunate encounters, nor did you dare jump off a cliff searching for treasure. And just like that, your dream of being a chosen one was shattered. Only then did you face the reality that you were just an ordinary person, with no exceptional talent. You didn't even have the cheat system that all transmigrators are supposed to have. And in all your years of wandering, you saw the cruel side of the cultivation world. Once you came to terms with all this, you lost all hope and gave up on the idea of finding a master and cultivating. But one day, by chance, you came across an old Taoist priest, injured and unconscious. After he woke up, to thank you for saving his life, the old priest brought you to the feathering sect and had you admitted as an exception. In the blink of an eye, 100 years went by. The old priest who brought you in has since passed on, and because of your lack of talent. After joining the feathering sect, you cultivated a wood element technique to extend your lifespan. That's how you managed to live to be 130. But recently, you've sensed that your end is near. Looking back on your life, you let out a sigh. Logically speaking, living to 130 should be more than enough. But to be in a golden age of cultivation, and a transmigrator at that, and still amount to nothing, what happened to the cheat system that's supposed to come with transmigration? In all these years, you never found anything special about yourself. Still the same, even after crossing over. You sighed. Slowly, you picked up a Taoist scripture and began to read in silence. 20 years after joining the feathering sect, it became clear you had no future in cultivation. Not wanting to leave the mountain, you applied to be the caretaker of the scripture pavilion. With nothing better to do, you just read. 80 years passed like that. He had read most of the Taoist scriptures in the pavilion at least once. Some were simple and easy to understand. Some he could only vaguely grasp, while others were completely incomprehensible, like divine texts. He picked up a book at random and flipped through it. It seemed he'd read every book in here, but every so often, he would still reread them. There was always something new to discover, and each reading brought a different experience. This book was a biography, chronicling the life of a once astonishingly brilliant disciple of the feathering sect. The life of Zhou Sheng. Zhou Sheng, head disciple of the feathering sect over 100 years ago. A peerless genius who reached the 7th forbidden realm at a young age. He was hailed as the greatest genius of his time, the hope for the feathering sect's revival. He fought against the demonic sects, he fought against the Yao clan. And he fought against the barbarians of the northern wastes, never knowing defeat. He overshadowed everyone in his generation, even surpassing many from the older one. But his life was a brief 40 years. According to the book, this genius of the feathering sect made a grave mistake. He married a woman from the Yao clan. This enraged the leading sect of the righteous path, the Supreme Tao sect. Supreme Tao sect proclaimed itself the leader of the righteous path, responsible for upholding justice in the cultivation world. The union of human and Yao was an offense against the laws of heaven. The Supreme Tao sect demanded that the Feather Transformation sect hand over Zhou Sheng, or they would face sanctions. The Feather Transformation sect was naturally unwilling and did their best to hold their ground. But the Supreme Tao sect's power was too immense, and they sanctioned and oppressed the Feather Transformation sect at every turn. Unwilling to drag down the Feather Transformation sect, Zhou Sheng announced his departure from the sect. He left quietly and began to fight back, on the yellow sand ancient road, with his cultivation at the 7th forbidden realm. He hunted and killed a Tao ancestor from the Supreme Tao sect who was at the 8th forbidden realm, shocking the world. Only then did the world learn that in that battle, Zhou Sheng, under extreme pressure, had managed to comprehend the long-lost Feather Transformation Ascension scripture of his sect. The Feather Transformation Ascension scripture was passed down by the founder of the Feather Transformation sect. When cultivated to its peak, one could ascend through feather transformation. It was one of the world's most unparalleled and invincible techniques. But 300 years ago, the Feather Transformation sect was invaded by the demonic path. They suffered heavy casualties, and almost all of the high-ranking members were killed in battle. The original text of the Feather Transformation Ascension scripture was also lost, becoming incomplete. Its power was no longer the same. In the years that followed, the Feather Transformation sect had been trying to find the original text or recomprehend it. But no one succeeded, simply because the level of comprehension required for the Feather Transformation Ascension scripture was too high. Ordinary geniuses were simply not enough. But Zhou Sheng succeeded. The battle on the yellow sand ancient road stunned the world. It also completely enraged the Supreme Tao sect. At that time, their Supreme Grand Master, who had been in seclusion for a long time, comprehending the immortal way, came out. With his formidable cultivation at the 9th forbidden realm, he crossed 3 continents and killed Zhou Sheng in 7 moves by the Luo River. The regret in the author's words throughout the book was palpable. Zhou Sheng's death filled the entire Feather Transformation sect with great sorrow and anger. The domineering power of the Supreme Tao sect also silenced anyone who knew of this matter. After finishing the biography, you sigh with emotion. Only 40 years old, in the prime of his life, he had even comprehended the complete Feather Transformation Ascension scripture, yet because the Supreme Tao sect was jealous of his talent, he met a tragic end. It's such a pity that the Feather Transformation Ascension scripture had just been recomprehended, only to be lost again. the scripture that allowed Zhou Sheng to fight an 8th Forbidden Realm cultivator while at the 7th, and withstand 7 moves from a 9th Forbidden Realm expert. For it to be lost just like that is truly a shame. When he joined the Feather Transformation sect, Zhou Sheng had just been killed. What a pity he never got to meet this astonishingly brilliant genius. You put down the book, feeling a deep sense of regret. Suddenly, with a ding, a golden light erupted in your mind, materializing a primordial golden core. Immediately after, the golden core cracked open, and a profound and mysterious aura surged into your mind. The next second, 2 lines of text appeared before your eyes. You have carefully read the biography of Zhou Sheng. You were very focused, activating Heaven-Defying comprehension. Your comprehension is now Heaven-Defying, comprehending the Feather Transformation Ascension scripture. He watched in joyful disbelief. Is this my golden finger? Heaven-Defying comprehension? He felt like crying. It was over 100 years late, but it had finally arrived. You never thought that by reading a book with your usual focus, you would actually activate Heaven-Defying comprehension and learn the Feather Transformation Ascension scripture. He was overjoyed beyond words. He had already accepted his fate. He thought he would just grow old and die here at the Yuha sect, never imagining he could restart his cultivation at the very end of his life. The Ascension scripture is one of the world's top-tier techniques, and its greatest strength is defying heaven to change one's destiny. It can repair the body, even though he is incredibly old and frail, and his life is nearing its end, as long as he has the Ascension scripture. There is hope to live a second life. Now that my comprehension is God tier, can I finally start cultivating? You are ecstatic deep down. Previously, he had made no progress in cultivation simply because his natural talent was too poor. He was too slow to grasp anything related to cultivation, but now his comprehension is off the charts. Surely this will be a massive help for his journey? At the same time, a flood of memories rushes into his mind. You close your eyes and see a strong, high-spirited middle-aged man. It is Zhou Sheng, fiercely battling a world-class master of the 8th restraint on an ancient desert path. Even though he is only at the 7th restraint, he wields the Ascension scripture like an immortal descended to earth. Every move is so ethereal and profound that the 8th restraint master has no way to fight back. You watch Zhou Sheng's performance of the Ascension scripture intently, and it becomes crystal clear in your mind. From the basic entry level to the absolute peak, Zhou Sheng demonstrates every step for you. Instinctively, he begins to follow along and practice. He starts from the very beginning, sitting in meditation to absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Fortunately, the library is very quiet, especially over the last 100 years. The Yuha sect has been suppressed by the Taisheng path both openly and secretly, so there aren't many disciples left. You can practice in peace, with your God-tier comprehension. His cultivation proceeds without any obstacles, moving forward with incredible ease. He has fully grasped the Ascension scripture, and with Zhou Sheng's personal demonstration, everything falls into place naturally. Spiritual energy from the surroundings surges wildly into your body. Soon, the Ascension scripture completely replaces the life-extending wood element technique you practiced before. That wood technique had zero offensive power, it was only meant to stretch out a normal person's lifespan. You practiced it for 100 years without even breaking through the first restraint. Cultivation in this world is divided into 9 levels of restraints. One must unlock the 9 hidden restraints within the body to release infinite potential and unleash supreme power. The first restraint is the flesh restraint. Unlocking it grants extraordinary strength. The second restraint is the bone restraint. It gives you bones as tough as steel. The third restraint is the spinal restraint. It activates the great dragon of the human body. These 3 are the introductory levels of cultivation. Only after completing these can one truly be considered to have stepped through the gates of cultivation. But for the past 100 years, you couldn't even cross the threshold of the first restraint. Now, as the Ascension scripture replaces your old technique, it directly helps you break through. Boom, you have unlocked the first restraint, the flesh restraint. Your aged body is like a dried-up river suddenly flooded with a massive amount of water. Like withered plants in spring, everything is coming back to life. He is reborn after just 1 night of cultivation. When you open your eyes and look at yourself in the mirror, you still look old, but there are subtle differences from last night. Your limbs feel powerful, and your flesh is firm. In just 1 night, you look at least 20 years younger. Not bad, and this is only the beginning of your journey. There's already such an obvious change. As long as I persist in my cultivation, I will definitely keep getting younger. Once I break through the second restriction, I'll be completely reborn, you think with satisfaction. For 3 days, you didn't read any other books. You didn't rush to activate other heaven-defying insights, but instead calmed your mind, quietly cultivating and improving your body's condition. Just as you were contemplating your future cultivation path, someone arrived at the scripture pavilion. He was dressed in a black Taoist robe, with a face as smooth as jade. His aura was as ethereal as an immortal in the clouds, the current sect master of the Feather Transformation sect. Bai Yunfei entered the scripture pavilion. He was quite surprised to see you and then congratulated you. Senior brother, it's been a while. You've broken through the first restriction. Congratulations, congratulations. You are also stunned, looking at your only good friend in the Feather Transformation sect. You nod and say, yes, a withered tree meets spring again. I was just lucky to break through the first restriction. In your 20th year after joining the sect, you began managing the scripture pavilion. It just so happened that Bai Yunfei had joined the sect around that time, and he loved coming to the scripture pavilion to read. Over time, the two of you became familiar with each other. Unlike you, Bai Yunfei was extremely talented. He broke through the first restriction in 1 month and was the hope of the Feather Transformation sect. However, this time, the higher-ups of the Feather Transformation sect had learned their lesson. They no longer promoted him extravagantly, but instead suppressed Bai Yunfei's fame, letting him grow quietly to avoid attracting the jealousy of the Supreme Tao sect, and suffering the same fate as Zhou Sheng. Back then, Bai Yunfei got along very well with you. He called you senior brother. Even after he became the sect master of the Feather Transformation sect, that address never changed. It's just that as Bai Yunfei's cultivation grew deeper and his lifespan longer, his appearance remained youthful, always with a baby face, while you, on the other hand, gradually aged and became an old man. You haven't been here to read in a while. You start brewing tea and share it with Bai Yunfei. Bai Yunfei, for his part, lies down on your meditation couch without a care for his image. He says softly, "There have been too many difficult things lately. It's making me anxious. It's still so peaceful here with you, senior brother." In the scripture pavilion, you quietly brew tea. Across from him sits a bored-looking young man, his cheek resting on one hand. At first glance, they look like a grandfather and his grandson. But they're actually not that far apart in age. Senior brother, with this breakthrough of yours, you've gained a dozen more years of life. Perhaps you'll even get to see the end of the Feather Transformation sect. Bai Yunfei says with a sigh. You frown. You pour a cup of tea, hand it to Bai Yunfei, and ask, "Why do you say that?" Bai Yunfei sips his tea lightly and says, "Don't you know, senior brother?" You frown and say, "Is it the Supreme Tao sect?" That's right, Bai Yunfei says, ever since that incident with senior Zhou Sheng over 100 years ago, the Supreme Wei sect began to relentlessly target our Feather Transformation sect, imposing sanctions on us. They blocked us at every turn, doing everything they could to suppress us. This has put us in an extremely difficult situation. Ever since that battle 300 years ago, the Feather Transformation sect's vitality was greatly damaged, and we even lost the Feather Transformation Ascension scripture. Then, after the incident with senior Zhou Sheng, we were sanctioned by the Supreme Wei sect for over 100 years. And now, the Feather Transformation sect can't hold on any longer. This year, we had a few promising recruits, but they were all poached by the Supreme Wei sect with high offers. Not only that, but some of the Feather Transformation sect's elders and many of our outstanding disciples have left as well. Now, including me, the sect leader, there are only about 10 disciples left, plus you, senior brother. This is what's left of the Feather Transformation sect. Bai Yunfei gave a helpless smile and said with a desolate look, "When I took over as the sect leader of the Feather Transformation sect, it was already a complete mess. I've spent all these years trying my best to fix things, but facing the relentless suppression from the Supreme Wei sect, which is hundreds, even thousands of times stronger. The pressure on me is immense." Your brow furrowed. You knew the Supreme Wei sect had been sanctioning the Feather Transformation sect, but you never imagined they'd be this ruthless, luring away disciples with high offers, poaching the sect's own elders, and using all sorts of other methods to cripple the Feather Transformation sect. And now, the sect is down to just a handful of members. No wonder you've noticed fewer and fewer disciples coming to the scripture pavilion lately. So that's how it is. Bai Yunfei drained his cup of tea in one gulp. Then he went to find a powerful cultivation technique. With it in hand, he bid you farewell. His departing figure looked incredibly resolute. You watched Bai Yunfei as he walked away into the rain, feeling a sense of helplessness. You watched as the autumn rain began to fall harder. You sighed helplessly. What could you do? You brewed your tea and watched the rain. Gradually, you fell into an ethereal state of mind. Your thoughts emptied, and your perception expanded infinitely. It was as if your soul had left your body, looking down upon everything from high up in the sky. Countless raindrops fell, and with them came the boundless spiritual energy of heaven and earth. It covered the entire world. Each drop of rain carried the breath of life. In your eyes, all of this came alive. Your eyes grew brighter and brighter. Your mind erupted with understanding. You had an epiphany while watching the rain. Activating your heaven-defying comprehension, you grasped the principle of endless vitality. A line of text appeared before your eyes. Only then did your consciousness return to your body. A massive surge of life energy flooded into your body, helping you break right through the threshold of the second seal. By watching the rain, you grasped endless vitality and broke through the second seal in the process. Endless vitality is a special technique. If you were to fight someone and exhaust your true energy, you could then use this technique to draw new energy from all of creation and return to your peak condition. Just now, you drew energy from the soil, the plants, and the stream water. That's how you were able to break through the second seal. This is the greatest power of endless vitality. Having unexpectedly broken through the second seal, your body underwent some changes. Your once full head of black hair was now streaked with gray and white. Your complexion was rosy, and your face was free of wrinkles. At first glance, you looked like a Taoist master of about 50. Your lifespan had also increased. But it looks like the Yuha sect is finished, you said, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Junior brother, come to the scripture pavilion. You thought carefully. You had already notified Bai Yunfei. You wanted to hand over the Yuha Ascension scripture to him. To revive the Yuha sect. This was the only way. Only then could the Yuha sect's legacy continue, and you could also remain in the scripture pavilion, cultivating peacefully and comprehending your own path. After that moment of enlightenment in the rain, you knew your future held endless possibilities. A single Yuha Ascension scripture was nothing in comparison. Soon, Bai Yunfei arrived at the scripture pavilion, looking at you with surprise. Senior brother, you summoned me. What is it? You didn't keep him in suspense and began to recite the Yuha Ascension scripture from memory. You told Bai Yunfei everything. The more he listened, the more astonished he became. He stared at you in disbelief, completely unable to accept that the person before him was the same senior brother he'd known for 80 years. When you had finished reciting it all, Bai Yunfei swallowed hard. He stammered, "Senior brother, where did you get the Yuha Ascension scripture?" You just smiled and said, "I figured it out myself." It was only then that Bai Yunfei noticed you had broken through to the second prohibition. "But you hadn't broken through when we were drinking tea just now, senior brother. This must be a sudden enlightenment for you. It's like you've soared to the heavens overnight." Bai Yunfei exclaimed emotionally, "I'm entrusting the Yuha Ascension scripture to you. Tell everyone that you comprehended it yourself. I don't want to be in the spotlight. I'll just continue my quiet cultivation here in the scripture pavilion," you instructed. "With the Yuha Ascension scripture, I'm confident I can break through to the 8th prohibition. I will protect the Yuha sect, and I will absolutely not disturb your cultivation, senior brother," Bai Yunfei said with determination. Then, Bai Yunfei left. He left, taking the Yuha Ascension scripture with him. With the scripture in hand, Bai Yunfei had a great chance of breaking through to the 8th prohibition. When that happened, he would be at the Dao ancestor level. A top-tier master in the mortal world. Unless, of course, the 9th prohibition ancestor of the Supreme Dao were to emerge from seclusion. But it was said that the Supreme Dao's ancestor had been in seclusion for 100 years, trying to break through the 9 prohibitions, and hadn't been seen in all that time. You thought to yourself, as long as Bai Yunfei doesn't draw too much attention, the Yuha sect should be safe. The next day, the great sun began to rise, filling the sky with the morning glow. After a night of cultivating the Yuha Ascension scripture, you exhaled a breath of impure qi. You rose, washed your face, and drank a mouthful of sweet dew from the mountain stream. You absorbed the morning's energy, expelling the impurities from your body with each breath. Afterwards, you lit a stick of sandalwood incense and brewed a pot of fine tea. You picked up a scripture and began to read through it silently. As you began to study it, you learned that the book recorded events from an ancient era. An era when divine elephants shattered the earth and true dragons soared across the heavens. The power of these divine elephants and true dragons was limitless, a height humanity could never hope to reach. Later, exceptional individuals studied the divine elephants and true dragons, creating countless cultivation techniques. This ushered in a golden age of cultivation, an era that came to be known as the Dragon Elephant Era. You became more and more engrossed as you read, diligently studying the characteristics of the divine elephants and true dragons. You also consulted other books, and gradually, an inspiration began to form. These inspirations gathered in your mind, colliding and bursting forth like sparks. The last line of text appears before your eyes. You carefully study the ancient dragon elephant. Activating your heaven-defying comprehension, you grasp the dragon elephant power. A memory floods your mind, the dragon elephant power. It is to cultivate the physical body as if it were an ancient divine elephant and a true dragon. Giving birth to dragon elephant power within the body to break all limits. My body was originally decaying. Although my cultivation has made me look a bit younger now, my foundation is weak, so it needs to be thoroughly polished. This dragon elephant power is perfect for remedying that weakness, you say with delight. You immediately begin to cultivate. Once the dragon elephant power is born within you, it will also temper your entire body. At that time, you can open the great dragon of the human body and enter the 3rd gate of cultivation. The first 3 gates of cultivation are all about the physical body. Only by tempering the body to its absolute peak can one step into the next level. The sun rises and the moon sets. Day and night cycle as you silently cultivate in the scripture pavilion. The night flies by in an instant, just as a sliver of dawn appeared on the horizon, inside the scripture pavilion. You rise to your full height, shaking off a month's worth of dust. After a month of secluded cultivation, circulating your chi and blood, you have finally conditioned your body and obtained the power of 1 dragon and 1 elephant. You exclaim with joy. At this moment, his complexion is like jade, his skin is fair, and his hair is jet black. His eyes are bright, with no trace of his former old age. Now, he looks more like a Taoist priest in his 30s. His bearing is as graceful as jade, and his posture is tall and straight. With sword-like brows and star-like eyes. This month of seclusion has yielded immense gains, you say with a sigh of emotion. He now possesses the power of 1 dragon and 1 elephant, and has also condensed the great dragon of the spine. Entering the 3rd gate, his body has broken out of its old shell. He has returned to his peak and ascended to an even higher level. At the same time, he has also laid a solid foundation for his future cultivation. The path of cultivation is long and arduous. I will search high and low for it. The path of cultivation is long and arduous. I will search high and low for it. Looking at the newly risen sun, you say with determination, after emerging from a month of secluded cultivation. It is already winter, the dead of winter. Heavy snow has sealed the mountains. Goose feather snow falls from the heavens. Falling thick and fast, it drapes the peaks of the feather transformation sect in a pristine white cloak. Looking up, the mountains and fields are a vast expanse of pure white. Adorned in silver, the view is dazzlingly beautiful. Feather transformation sect, scripture pavilion. Watching the heavy, swirling snow, you are dressed in a white Taoist robe. You admire the view from the corridor, holding a teacup, when footsteps suddenly sound from behind. Accompanied by a clear voice, "Senior brother, you're in a fine mood." Without turning your head, you say, "Aren't you supposed to be in seclusion cultivating the feather transformation ascension scripture? What are you doing here?" Bai Yunfei comes to stand beside you and says, I am about to go into seclusion to cultivate the feather transformation ascension scripture, so there are a few things I'd like to ask of you, senior brother. You pour Bai Yunfei a cup of tea and ask curiously, what's the matter? You want to ask me, senior brother, to teach these disciples the ascension scripture? Bai Yunfei gestures with his hand, and two boys and a girl walk into the scripture pavilion. Their faces are childish, and they aren't very tall. They're all around 10 years old, looking at you timidly. Address him as martial uncle, Bai Yunfei says in a serious tone. Greetings, martial uncle, the three children call out obediently. You nod, then look at Bai Yunfei with suspicion. Bai Yunfei says, these three children are all orphans. I took them in as my disciples. Their talent is quite good. They are worth training, but I must enter death seclusion next. To break through to the 8th seal. That's why I want you, senior brother, to teach them the ascension scripture. Death seclusion? Then what about the ascension sect? You don't agree immediately, asking. We will seal the mountain gate and have no contact with the outside world. Bai Yunfei says gravely, will the other disciples agree? You ask, what other disciples? Everyone who is left in the ascension sect is right here, Bai Yunfei says with a bitter smile. You look at the three little ones, then at Bai Yunfei. And then at yourself. It turns out the entire ascension sect is just the 5 of them. Over the past month, the Taisheng Dao has made its move again. They lured away the other disciples and cut off all roads leading out of the ascension sect, turning the ascension sect into an isolated island. No one dares to come near, and no one dares to contact us, Bai Yunfei says, his face dark. That's going too far, you frown. If I hadn't revealed my cultivation at the 7th seal, I'm afraid the Taisheng Dao would have already invaded our sect. Bai Yunfei says helplessly, they want to seal us off and let us die. You suppress your anger. The Taisheng Dao is pushing things too far. That's why I must enter death seclusion. When I break through to the 8th seal, and with the ascension scripture, that will be the time to make the Taisheng Dao pay the price, Bai Yunfei says with determination. During this time, I'll have to trouble you, senior brother, to look after these three little ones. Guide their cultivation. We still have some resources left in the sect. It's enough to sustain the three of them for a few years, Bai Yunfei says. You look at the three little ones and nod. All right, I will take care of them. You can focus on your seclusion and achieve your breakthrough soon. You three, remember to listen to your martial uncle. Cultivate well, do you understand? Bai Yunfei says sternly to his three disciples. The three little ones nod obediently. Only then is Bai Yunfei satisfied. He bows to you and says, I'll be troubling you from now on, senior brother. You nod and say, go to your seclusion, I will teach them diligently. Bai Yunfei nods, then strides away. Inside the scripture pavilion, only you and the three 10-year-old children remain. The three children look at you shyly. What are your names? You ask gently. Wen Xinyan. The only girl is the first to speak. Zhou Tianzi. This is a thin, short boy. Yu Deshan. This is a very stout boy. His name fits him perfectly. At about 10 years old, he's like a small mountain. When he grows up, he'll definitely be a great mountain. My name is Lin Jufeng. From now on, you will all cultivate with me. You'll live here in the scripture depository until your master emerges from his seclusion after his breakthrough. They say to you, we'll listen to martial uncle. Yu Deshan gives an honest smile and scratches his head. Alright then, follow me and let's start chi gathering cultivation, you say seriously. You begin to personally teach them the Yuha flying ascension scripture. The three children's talent is truly excellent. They understand it as soon as they hear it. After your guidance, they can guide chi into their bodies. Compared to you before awakening your heaven-defying comprehension, their talent is greater by leaps and bounds. No wonder Bai Yunfei took them as his disciples, and saw them as the hope for the Yuha sect's revival. The days pass one by one. The Yuha sect is now empty, and what's more, it's been sealed off. No one can get out, and no one can get in, so the mountains and wilderness are completely quiet. You quite enjoy this quietness. He wakes up early every day, teaches the three children to cultivate the Yuha flying ascension scripture, and then lets them practice on their own. He himself then begins to read and cultivate, refining the chi of his 5 major organs. The three children are very independent. When hungry, they make something to eat on their own. After eating, they cultivate diligently. You have talked with them, and know they were orphaned at a young age, wandering from place to place. They had many near-death experiences. Luckily, they met Bai Yunfei, who took them in as disciples and brought them to the Yuha sect. It's also because of their bitter childhood that they especially cherish everything they have now. Not a single one of them is lazy. They are all cultivating diligently. This makes you very satisfied. He reads a book while condensing the chi of his internal organs. In 3 months, he has only condensed the vermilion bird of the heart. Next, he must condense the azure dragon of the liver. This cannot be rushed, so you read books while improving yourself. Fortunately, the Yuha sect has been completely sealed off now, so there are no disturbances. He can improve himself in peace. This time, he is reading the biography of a certain senior. This senior was a master of the sword path. The book says his swordsmanship surpassed the 9 prohibitions. He wielded the way of heaven, using all of nature as his sword. He possessed a terrifying sword technique. That technique did not rely on external objects, but only on one's comprehension of the sword path. The more you comprehend the sword's intent, the more powerful the sword technique becomes. At his peak, every blade of grass and every piece of wood could be his sword. This master looked down on the world with this sword technique. Even the exceedingly tyrannical Supreme Tao sect dared not speak loudly in his presence. But it's a pity, he was as brilliant as a shooting star, and vanished just as quickly. Some say he was assassinated, some say he had already passed away. Others say he went into seclusion to cultivate. The stories vary, and the only pity is that his terrifying sword technique was never passed down, so future generations could never truly see it. They could only rely on imagination, envisioning a sword made from grass and wood. Just how terrifying could it be? You murmur, closing the book. You close your eyes, envisioning this great master's sword technique. Not confined by physical objects, it pursues the true self. Among all things in heaven and earth, every blade of grass and every twig can be a sword. In your mind, there is a loud crash. As if chaos itself was shattered, a single blade of grass flies out. It slashes towards the sun, the moon, and the stars. Boom, the sun, moon, and stars fall from the sky, and the earth itself collapses. All of creation surges forth, the sword's energy stretching between heaven and earth like a great wall. Only that blade of grass remains as the earth collapses. All of creation surges forth, the sword's energy stretching between heaven and earth like a great wall. Only that blade of grass. At this very moment, you have a flash of divine inspiration, and a line of text appears before your eyes. You study it intently, activating your heaven-defying comprehension. You comprehend the grass and wood sword technique, and an ultimate killing technique forms in your mind. The grass and wood sword technique specializes in cultivating one's true self. By understanding the sword's intent, every blade of grass and every twig can become a sword. With this sword technique, I'm strong enough to slay a cultivator of the fifth forbidden realm. You say this with great confidence, having comprehended the grass and wood sword technique. Your days go on as usual. Even after cultivating the grass and wood sword technique, you currently have no one to use it on. The Supreme Tao sect, eyeing the Yuha sect like a tiger, would be a good target, but your current cultivation level is too low. You still need to settle down and grow. In the days that follow, apart from stimulating the chi of your 5 organs and condensing the 5-element divine beasts each day, you also need to comprehend the sword's intent. The grass and wood sword technique requires intent to drive it. The stronger the sword's intent, the more powerful the grass and wood sword technique. Naturally, you couldn't give up on it, just as with the 5-organ divine beasts. You comprehend a little more each day, letting it build up slowly. Naturally, it grew. Time passed slowly. In the blink of an eye, a year slipped by. During this past year, you condensed the other 4 divine beasts at an average rate of 1 every 3 months. A year later, you now stand at the peak of the 4th forbidden realm. The 5 organs within your body are perfected, with the 5-element divine beasts residing within them, forming a perfect cycle: the vermilion bird, azure dragon, white tiger, qilin, and black tortoise. The 5 divine beasts have boosted your strength to that of 10 dragons and 10 elephants. Now, when you throw a punch, it's enough to kill a cultivator of the 5th forbidden realm without even needing the grass and wood sword technique. With the grass and wood sword technique added, you'd even dare to clash with a cultivator of the 6th forbidden realm. After all, over the past year, your comprehension of the grass and wood sword technique's intent has grown immensely. During this year, neither you nor your 3 junior nephews have gone out. Nor has anyone come in. The Yuha sect had truly become an isolated island. No one paid it any mind. But to you, it was of no concern. You didn't go out anyway. One can also cultivate peacefully inside the scripture pavilion. The air was filled with the fragrance of tea and sandalwood. You, Wen Xinyan, Zhou Tianzi, and Yu Deshan sat together sipping tea. The 3 children had trained arduously over the past year. Day and night, they finally raised their cultivation to the 2nd forbidden realm. The 2nd forbidden realm at 11 years old. If word of this got out, it would absolutely shock the world. Even the Taishang Dao doesn't have a genius who reached the 2nd forbidden realm at 11. Fortunately, with the Yuha gate now sealed off, no one knows about these few. If the Taishang Dao knew about them, they probably would have attacked long ago. They would either force them to join the Taishang Dao or kill them on the spot. There would be no third option. Senior uncle, I still have to train. Why are you making me drink tea? Can't even taste it, Yu Deshan complained. A year older, his body was even stronger, and he had grown to 1.8 meters tall. Weighing over 300 jin, he was practically a mountain. Senior uncle is just telling you to balance work and rest. You're constantly on the move all year round. You have to stop and rest sometimes, and plan for the future. Wen Xinyan said, gently patting Yu Deshan with her slender, jade-like hand. Thanks to her cultivation, Wen Xinyan had also blossomed. She had grown into a graceful and elegant young woman, wearing no makeup. Her face held a stunning beauty. One look was enough to know she would one day be a kingdom-toppling beauty. Beside her, with sword-like brows and star-like eyes, the dignified and upright Zhou Tianzi smiled faintly, trying to get Deshan to calm down and drink his tea. It's no easy task, you thought, looking at the 3 children. You couldn't help but feel emotional. Cultivation truly makes people grow up fast. In just over a year, they had shed their childishness and gained a youthful maturity. All right, stop complaining. Finish this cup of tea, and then you can go rest, you said, exasperated. Yu Deshan chuckled, picked up his teacup, and drained it in one gulp. Like a cow chewing on a peony. You glared, annoyed. You didn't pour him any more, choosing to slowly savor your own. Wen Xinyan shot Yu Deshan a look. Even though this tea just grows on the mountain, senior uncle went to pick it himself. For you to waste it like that, you really have no appreciation. After finishing his tea, Yu Deshan didn't leave. Instead, he lay down on the tea couch and asked, Senior uncle. You said the people from the Taishang Dao have us surrounded, but they aren't attacking. What exactly do they want? You said, repeating his question. Attack? Your master is still alive, you know. Master is a cultivator of the 7th forbidden realm. but the Taishang Dao is so powerful. Would they really be afraid of 1/7 Forbidden Realm cultivator? Wen Xinyan also asked curiously, if they were to destroy the Yuha Gate without being certain they could kill your master, wouldn't they just be creating an enemy for themselves, one who hides in the shadows, you said? So they aren't destroying us, they're just sealing us off. That way, master can't escape, and he can't become their enemy. The son of Heaven of Zhou said, your master is waiting for a breakthrough. The people from the Supreme Dao sect are probably waiting too. It's just a matter of who gets there first. You guessed, besiege but do not kill. The Supreme Dao sect has actually pushed the Feather Transformation sect to the brink, but they aren't attacking. The only explanation is that they have no way to deal with Bai Yunfei of the 7th Prohibition. If they could deal with Bai Yunfei, they probably would have attacked long ago. The only explanation is that they have no way to deal with Bai Yunfei of the 7th Prohibition. If they could deal with Bai Yunfei, they probably would have attacked long ago. Doesn't the Supreme Dao sect have several Dao ancestor masters at the 8th Prohibition? Yu Deshan said, the Supreme Dao sect doesn't just have us as enemies. Given their domineering way of doing things, is it possible they don't have other enemies? You replied to Yu Deshan. Then we can only hope that master breaks through soon, Wen Xinyan sighed. You all should go cultivate. These matters are not for you to worry about. Your master and I are here. You shooed them away. Alone, you quietly sipped your tea and looked out the window. Beyond the towering mountains, there was an invisible net. You could feel that this net had drawn much closer over the past year. The Supreme Dao sect wasn't just blindly besieging the Feather Transformation sect, they were also advancing slowly. It's just that they're still a bit afraid of Bai Yunfei. As long as Bai Yunfei doesn't appear, and the Supreme Dao's 8th Prohibition Dao ancestors don't come, the Feather Transformation sect can still hang on for a while longer. Because among those at the 7th Prohibition cultivation level, Bai Yunfei has already demonstrated his immense power. Never mind all that, while the Supreme Dao sect hasn't attacked yet, I must break through to the 5th Prohibition as soon as possible. By then, I'll have some ability to protect myself. You murmured, you had already reached the peak of the 4th Prohibition. You have condensed the 5 visceral divine beasts, and your physical body has reached perfection. Next is to cultivate the primordial spirit, the 5th Prohibition. To open the primordial spirit, regarding the cultivation of the primordial spirit, you consulted a Taoist scripture, beginning to study it intently. Taoist scriptures say that a person's primordial spirit is the convergence of essence, qi, and spirit, the most precious thing a person possesses. To have a body without a soul is to be nothing more than walking flesh. Break through to the 5th Prohibition and open the primordial spirit. One must condense their essence, qi, and spirit to forge a primordial spirit. Then, you must open the primordial spirit and have it leave the body. To roam the heavens and the earth. How does it leave the body? You didn't know, but the Taoist scripture recorded that. The simplest way is to step on your right foot with your left foot and then leap out of the Niwan Palace. You couldn't help but frown. This is possible? You continued to read. The book also said that the human body holds infinite possibilities and infinite treasures. First and foremost is the primordial spirit. The primordial spirit has many strange and wondrous abilities, which cannot be fathomed and require one to stimulate their imagination. For example, think of the physical body as a prison, with the primordial spirit trapped within. In that case, stepping on your right foot with your left is like a prisoner breaking out of jail. Another example. Think of the primordial spirit as a small boat, and the physical body as the vast ocean. The primordial spirit drifts in the vast sea, searching for a new continent. You are mesmerized by these wild and imaginative ideas. To others, they seem unreliable, but you like them just the way they are. Cultivation is already incredible enough, so why stick to the rules? What's the point of cultivating then? As you continue to watch, countless ideas collide in your mind, striking sparks. Information about the primordial spirit is slowly revealing itself to him. You feel you've reached the threshold. He is completely absorbed in it, unable to pull himself away. Those clashing ideas slowly converge and become 2 sentences. They appear before your eyes. You read the Taoist scripture intently. Expanding your mind, you gain a much deeper understanding of the spiritual soul. Your heaven-defying comprehension is activated. Just by looking at the book, you grasp the primordial spirit transcendence method. This is an unexpected delight. In fact, the ethereal ascension scripture already contains a method for cultivating the primordial spirit. By following that cultivation method, one can also condense a primordial spirit. Then, the primordial spirit can leave the body, but the process is rather slow. The advantage is a solid foundation. Now, with the primordial spirit transcendence method, combining it with the ethereal ascension scripture in your cultivation will surely double the results with half the effort. You decisively begin to cultivate. He first lights some incense. He bathes and changes his clothes, then tells Wen, Xin, and Yun not to disturb him. He then returns to his room, sits cross-legged, and meditates. He clears his mind and begins his cultivation, using the ethereal ascension scripture as the primary technique, and the primordial spirit transcendence method as the secondary. He condenses his essence, qi, and spirit. An ordinary person's essence, qi, and spirit are scattered. Even a cultivator at the 4th realm cannot completely control all of their essence, qi, and spirit. They can only be said to be stronger than ordinary people. That is why when a 4th realm cultivator faces a 5th realm one, their primordial spirit alone is not enough to withstand the attack. A 5th realm cultivator can shatter the essence, qi, and spirit of a 4th realm one. It leaves them dazed and confused, as if they've fallen into hell. It's like they've suffered a severe illness, unable to concentrate their minds. They can't control their own body and are unable to exert even a tenth of their power. Those who have cultivated to the 5th realm are also known as primordial spirit grandmasters. They have transcended the level of martial arts experts. This time, you intend to break through with all your heart. You will not leave seclusion until you have condensed your primordial spirit. It is now nighttime. You begin to condense your own essence, chi, and spirit. Countless strands emerge from all over your body, gathering at the point between your eyebrows. Slowly, they condense. Right now, it is just a formless, illusory consciousness. Countless strands gather at the point between your eyebrows, slowly condensing. Right now, it is just a formless, illusory consciousness. As you channel the ethereal ascension scripture and the primordial spirit transcendence method, this formless, illusory consciousness begins to become smooth and round. It is being controlled by the 2 techniques, just like sculpting a clay figure. You take a lump of clay and shape it into a human form. Condensing the primordial spirit is just like that. You gather the formless essence, chi, and spirit, and knead them together. Then you shape it until finally, it becomes a tiny figure that looks just like you. This is the primordial spirit. You knead it, bit by bit. During his kneading process, the brilliant starlight from the dome of the sky shines directly down. It passes through the curtains and falls upon you, bringing an immediate sense of peace. Profound and immense quality radiates from your primordial spirit as the starlight soothes it. This is the starlight drawn in by the primordial spirit transcendence technique. Your previously scattered and disordered essence, chi, and spirit, are now slowly taking form. It's a vast sea of stars. Deep and brilliant, within this sea of stars, a giant is born. This giant stands upon the river of stars. Its eyes are closed in a quiet, deep slumber. All the stars in the heavens revolve around it. The scene is breathtakingly beautiful. That is your primordial spirit. With the help of the starlight, it has finally finished forming. The next second, the newly formed primordial spirit, carrying the vast sea of stars, surges into the center of your brow. Boom, the center of your brow bursts open, and your sea of consciousness emerges. Primordial spirit takes up residence within it, and your power smoothly breaks through to the 5th seal. Primordial Spirit Grandmaster. At this moment, the power in your entire body is skyrocketing. With every breath, it increases by the strength of a dragon and an elephant. And it's far from over. The starlight enters your mind, making your entire body feel cool and refreshed, as if you're bathing in the aura of the immortals. Every pore on your body is absorbing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. You feel light enough to ascend to immortality. This state didn't last long. When your power rose to the strength of 30 dragons and 30 elephants, all the phenomena vanished. You returned to your true self. You are still the same Taoist, sitting and cultivating on the meditation cushion. Within the starlight at the center of your brow, your primordial spirit is looking around curiously. You are just one step away from the 5th seal. The final step is to release the primordial spirit, which means letting it leave your body. To roam the great mountains and rivers. But how do you make the primordial spirit leave the body? You can't help but recall the Taoist scripture you read before. Step on your right foot with your left, and leap out of the Niwan palace. You decide to try it. Inside your sea of consciousness, a vast sea of stars surrounds the primordial spirit. The next second, the primordial spirit places its left foot on top of its right. It suddenly lifts itself up a step, and it doesn't fall. You are utterly astonished, and then overjoyed. So, it turns out this primordial spirit really can't be understood with common sense. And so, your primordial spirit, inside your sea of consciousness, keeps stepping on its own feet, rising higher and higher. It's like climbing a ladder to the heavens, until it reaches the highest point of the Niwan palace. Then, it gathers all its strength and takes a powerful leap. Boom, it's as if it has broken through the boundaries of the world. This moment, all the stars in the sky blaze with light. From the impossibly distant void, they cast down endless rays of light. The light enters your primordial spirit. The starlight becomes one with it. It's like a dream, an illusion, making your primordial spirit even stronger. After a few moments, you grow accustomed to this new sensation. When you focus your senses, you realize your primordial spirit has already left your body. You look at your physical body, sitting there meditating with a calm expression. A wave of joyful surprise washes over you. This is the first time you've ever seen yourself so clearly. You circle your physical form, experiencing what it's like to be in this state of pure spirit. It feels completely different from a real physical body in this primordial spirit state. Everything is so light, as if a gust of wind could blow it away. My primordial spirit has just coalesced. It's still too fragile. I have to keep strengthening it. I read in a book that some people's primordial spirits are even stronger than their physical bodies once they reach the pinnacle of cultivation. Their primordial spirits even have to undergo lightning tribulations. How powerful must that be? You murmur to yourself. After spinning around, your primordial spirit rests at the edge of your physical body, sitting cross-legged in the same meditative pose. You execute the technique you've comprehended, the primordial spirit transcendence breathing method. Absorbing the brilliant river of stars from the night sky, with his every breath, the brilliant galaxy seems to flicker and sync at the same frequency. With each breath, endless starlight enters his body. It settles into his primordial spirit, strengthening the newly coalesced spirit. Endless starlight enters his body, settling into his primordial spirit, strengthening the newly coalesced spirit. At this moment, his primordial spirit is like an empty bottle, and the starlight is like mercury pouring into it, gradually filling the bottle. At this moment, Ching Lan, your physical body and primordial spirit are both enveloped and cleansed by the starlight. His body and spirit become as pure as glazed glass, untainted by a single speck of dust, like a clear mirror stand. It can reflect all the heavens. During your cultivation, your spiritual sense continuously expands, from the study room to the entire scripture pavilion. He sees Wen Xinyan, Zhou Tianzi, and Yu Deshan cultivating diligently. He sees blades of grass pushing through the soil, growing tenaciously. He sees the river water rushing, a spider catching a moth. No detail, big or small, escapes him. As long as you wish to see something, he can see it. Wen Xinyan and the other two have no idea. This is the power of the primordial spirit. It transcends the limits of the physical body. Just how vast is my perception range? The thought suddenly strikes you. He continuously expands his perception, stretching it out, wanting to know its exact range. Leaving the scripture pavilion, his perception envelops the entire Yuha sect. It still hasn't reached its limit. You continue to expand the range. He sees the mountain ranges, sees the wild beasts, and he sees 3 people. You are suddenly startled. The people he sees are wearing the clothes of the Taishang Dao, sitting around lazily and chatting. These 3 are all disciples of the Taishang Dao. Their cultivation is at the 4th or 5th forbidden realm, but they can't sense your consciousness at all, just chatting among themselves. You were about to withdraw, but their next words make him stop. We've been surrounding the Yuha sect for over a year. Why don't we just destroy it? There aren't many people left anyway. Yeah, if you ask me, it'd be better to just wipe out the Yuha sect. It would save us from wasting our time here. The ones speaking are 2 disciples at the 4th forbidden realm. They are asking the primordial spirit grandmaster of the 5th forbidden realm. Your consciousness doesn't retreat. Listening quietly, he also wants to know what tricks the Taishang Dao has up its sleeve. The primordial spirit grandmaster of the 5th forbidden realm begins to speak. If only things were as simple as you make them sound. Is it really that complicated? A 4th Jin disciple asked, confused. Yeah, those disciples from Yuha Men. We've already lured their elders away. Right now, the entire Yuha Men only has 5 people left. 1 sect leader and 3 disciples, plus some useless old fossil who's over 100. What's there to be afraid of? Another disciple said with a sneer. The 5th Jin Yuanshan grandmaster shook his head. The others are no threat, but as long as the sect leader of Yuha Men, Bai Yunfei, is still alive. Yuha Men can't be destroyed. But why? He's just a 7th Jin cultivator, isn't he? Our Taishang Dao has plenty of those. Besides, Elder Qingshan, who has them surrounded, is a 7th Jin himself. The 4th Jin disciple added quickly, completely baffled. How could our whole group be intimidated by a single Bai Yunfei? The 5th Jin Yuanshan grandmaster said in a low voice. Elder Qingshan has fought Bai Yunfei before, but it only took a single move. He was defeated, completely powerless to fight back. Elder Qingshan said that Bai Yunfei has already reached the pinnacle of the 7th Jin. If we rush in and destroy Yuha Men, forcing Bai Yunfei into a killing spree, we'll be the ones to suffer for it. Hearing this, you raise an eyebrow. You never expected that baby-faced Bai Yunfei to be so powerful. But on second thought, it makes perfect sense. After all, Bai Yunfei, just like Zhou Sheng, is hailed as a once-in-a-generation genius of Yuha Men. Even if this Bai Yunfei is powerful, he's still just a 7th Jin. Our Taishang Dao has many 8th Jin Daozu. Why not just have one of them come and kill Bai Yunfei? Wouldn't that solve the problem? A 4th Jin disciple said. Yeah, the sooner we deal with Yuha Men, the sooner we can stop standing guard here. We can just take all their scriptures and go back, and get back to our training, the other 4th Jin disciple added with a nod. Do you really think the 8th Jin Daozu have nothing better to do? The 5th Jin Yuanshan grandmaster snapped. Traces of a divine beast cub, a Qilin, were recently found in the Million Great Mountains. All of our Taishang Dao's 8th Jin Daozu have gone there. Why would they bother with a puny little sect like Yuha Men? All of our Taishang Dao's 8th Jin Daozu have gone there. They can't be bothered with a tiny sect like Yuha Men. If they find that young Qilin, our Taishang Dao will be able to unify all the Taoist sects and rule the world. We'll be invincible in this realm, the 5th Jin Yuanshan grandmaster said in a low, intense voice. The 2 4th Jin disciples gasped, their expressions quickly turning to excitement. Compared to a young Qilin, whether Yuha Men is destroyed or not is completely unimportant. You're also shocked. A young Qilin, that's a divine beast. One hasn't been seen for many, many years. To think one would appear now. It seems the only reason Yuha Men hasn't been wiped out yet is thanks to this young Qilin, you think to yourself. Just then, the 5th Jin Yuanshan grandmaster said smugly. However, I received some news a few days ago. An elder of our Taishang Dao, who has been in seclusion for 100 years, has finally broken through to the 8th Jin, achieving the rank of Daozu. As soon as he stabilizes his new realm, he'll be coming here to wipe out Yuha Men for good. Really? So Taishang Dao has another Daozu? What a joyous occasion. The Yuha sect is finally going to be destroyed. Then we can go back to our sect and continue our cultivation, the 2 4th Forbidden Realm disciples said ecstatically. Your face was grim. You never expected to hear such perilous news. The Supreme Dao has a new 8th Forbidden Realm Taoist ancestor. They're just waiting for him to stabilize his Forbidden Realm. Then he'll come and wipe out the Yuha sect. Can Bai Yunfei stop him? Can he break through to the 8th Forbidden Realm in time? If he can't stop him, then I'll need to think of an escape plan. In that instant, your mind was in turmoil, racing with countless thoughts. Just then, that 5th Forbidden Realm Primordial Spirit Grandmaster spoke again. Alright, keep this news locked away in your hearts. Don't tell anyone. The 8th Forbidden Realm Taoist ancestor needs to stabilize his realm. That will take at least half a year. We just have to endure for another half a year. Got it? The 2 4th Forbidden Realm disciples nodded obediently. Half a year is half a year. At least now there's something to look forward to. And that made them happy. Seeing that they had stopped talking, your consciousness slowly withdrew and returned to your own body. In the study of the scripture pavilion, you opened your eyes. The primordial spirit beside you also finished its cultivation and returned to your body. You couldn't help but look toward the place where Bai Yunfei was in seclusion, the Yuha sect's headmaster's grand hall. It was situated atop a high mountain, amidst the clouds and mist. A grand hall with a golden roof, surrounded by swirling, fragrant mist, looking just like a celestial palace. Bai Yunfei was inside, in a deep seclusion to the death, his aura stable. It hadn't changed at all. You didn't know, he could break through to the 8th forbidden realm within half a year. I should just focus on my own cultivation. If I can break through to the 6th forbidden realm in half a year, then even if I can't defeat an 8th forbidden realm master, I can still escape with the 3 little ones and the vast collection of books here. You muttered to yourself, if I really can't win, I'll just have to avoid a direct confrontation. Sigh, if I just had a few more years, I wouldn't be powerless against an 8th forbidden realm Taoist ancestor. But alas, there's just not enough time, you sighed. The 6th forbidden realm, comprehending the Tao's rhythm, but how exactly does one comprehend the Tao's rhythm? Right now, you were completely clueless. You had only just broken through to the 5th forbidden realm, even though you managed to condense your primordial spirit in one go. And even had it leave your body, accomplishing something others couldn't do in decades, or even a lifetime. But in essence, you had only broken through to the 5th forbidden realm half a year ago. Trying to comprehend the Tao's rhythm, how incredibly difficult it was. Feeling a bit agitated, you decided to just walk out of the room. You arrived at the scripture pavilion. Seeing you come out, the 3 disciples who were cultivating immediately came closer. Senior uncle, did you break through, senior uncle? Are you a 5th forbidden realm primordial spirit grandmaster now, senior uncle? You're amazing, 100 years of accumulation. For a single moment of enlightenment, you could practically ascend in a rainbow of light. The 3 of them praised you one after another, surrounding you affectionately. After spending so much time together, your bond had truly become like that of a family. Looking at the 3 vibrant youngsters, you let out a hearty laugh. You've broken through the 5th prohibition. A primordial spirit grandmaster. You let out a hearty laugh. You've broken through the 5th prohibition. A primordial spirit grandmaster, looking at the 3 lively and adorable youngsters. You suppress the irritation in your heart and say, if there is anything you don't understand about your cultivation, you can ask me now. The 3 youngsters take turns explaining what they're confused about. You're a very good teacher, personally guiding them step by step. 3 youngsters are quite clever, they understand as soon as you explain. After clearing up their confusion, you let them go cultivate on their own. You, on the other hand, go to read. That night, suddenly, inside the scripture pavilion, you sense a 4th person. You sit up abruptly. There should only be Wen, Xin, and Yun in the scripture pavilion. Bai Yunfei is still in seclusion, so who is this 4th person? A shifty-eyed man looks at the vast collection of books in the scripture pavilion, his face lighting up with glee. Ha, Amitabha, may the Bodhisattva protect me. I can't believe I got in so easily. The feathering sect is really done for. There are only 5 people in the entire sect. That immense aura on the highest peak must be the sect master of the feathering sect. I've got to be careful not to let him discover me. The others are all useless, not even worth mentioning. The shifty-eyed man picks up a Taoist scripture and quickly flips through it. Realizing it's not the right one, he puts it back. He immediately moves on to the next Taoist scripture, muttering to himself as he searches. 300 years ago, the Shakya demon king of the demon sect wreaked havoc across the cultivation world. He killed countless masters and beat the supreme Tao sect until they were trembling in fear. He was unbelievably arrogant, even attacking the feathering sect in the end, to seize the feathering ascension scripture. But what nobody expected was that the feathering sect was actually hiding 3 old masters who had reached the 9th prohibition. 3 of them ganged up on the Shakya demon king, and the battle was cataclysmic. Members of the demon sect swarmed into attack, and everyone from the feathering sect joined the battle. That battle was incredibly brutal. The Shakya demon king was slain. The feathering sect's 3 9th prohibition masters perished, and the rest of the disciples suffered devastating casualties. Even the feathering ascension scripture was damaged in the fight, and the feathering sect never recovered. The Supreme Tao sect reaped all the benefits and took the opportunity to rise to power. They suppressed the feathering sect at every turn, leaving it struggling to cope. But what the world doesn't know is that although the Shakya demon king died in that battle, his primary cultivation method, the 10 halls of Yama technique, conceals itself automatically, so it was mistaken for an ordinary manual. It was stored right here, in the feathering sect's scripture pavilion. If I hadn't found the journal left behind by the Shakya demon king, this ultimate demon sect technique, so powerful and unyielding, would have been lost forever. The more the shifty-eyed man spoke, the more excited he became. It was as if he could see himself cultivating the 10 halls of Yama technique, ascending to the 9th prohibition, uniting the demon sect, and looking down upon the entire world. He was so thrilled that the words just burst out of him. Restoring the glory of the demon sect is my undeniable duty. Listening from the shadows, you hear these words and are lost in thought. So, he was here for the technique of that great fiend from 300 years ago. But at that time, although the feather transformation sect killed Demon King Shakya, the price they paid was too devastating. Higher-ups were basically all killed, and the new generation of disciples was forced to take up the mantle. With all sorts of matters to handle, this technique, the 10 Palace Yama, could very well have been lost in the scripture depository. You didn't disturb him, letting this shifty-eyed man find it for you. The shifty-eyed man was very diligent. The number of books collected by the feather transformation sect over the generations was immense, spanning several floors. With countless bookshelves, trying to find one secret manual in here was incredibly difficult, especially when you didn't know what the 10 Palace Yama technique looked like. Furthermore, it could conceal itself, likely disguised as an ordinary Taoist scripture. The shifty-eyed man was very diligent, searching non-stop, but by daybreak, the shifty-eyed man still hadn't found it. He wasn't disheartened. Instead, he found a corner and hid, remaining completely still, without eating or drinking. He lowered his breathing to a minimum. If you hadn't been observing him with your consciousness, you would have never sensed that someone was hiding here. Perhaps this was how he was able to slip past the Supreme Way's blockade and enter the feather transformation sect. You muttered to yourself. He acted as if he didn't notice. You quietly went about your own business. When night fell, you and the 3 children were cultivating. The shifty-eyed man set out again, continuing the search from where he had stopped the previous night, working extremely hard. One day passed, and then another, all the way to the 10th day. The shifty-eyed man had searched through more than half of the scripture depository. Finally, on this night, he found the self-concealing 10 Palace Yama. The shifty-eyed man held the book, shedding tears of excitement as he said with a tremble, "You really made me work to find you." At this, you spoke up. "Thank you for helping me find this secret manual." The shifty-eyed man quickly hid the manual behind his back. He spun around and glared at you. "When did you discover me?" "From the first step you took into the scripture depository," you replied truthfully. "So all these days while I was searching my heart out, you were just hiding and watching?" The shifty-eyed man was furious. "To thank you for your hard work. I can spare your life," you said earnestly. "I'm not sparing you." The shifty-eyed man's anger boiled over. Unable to contain himself, he lunged straight at you. A golden light erupted from his palm, carrying the dense essence of refined steel. It was like a golden saber hacking down at you. The shifty-eyed man was a 5th Forbidden Realm master. Naturally, he had his own ultimate technique. This golden saber palm was the technique he had spent half his life arduously cultivating. He was utterly enraged, unleashing his ultimate technique from the very start. The thought of how he had been searching so painstakingly for days while you just watched from the side made him absolutely livid, his eyes filled with malice. He was determined to kill you. Facing this palm strike, you didn't back down in the slightest, striking out with a palm of your own. However, your palm had no glow at all. Its skin was merely like jade. Your fingers were long and slender. The 2 palms met. Golden saber palm drove forward relentlessly, attacking with a tyrannical aura. But the moment he met your power of 30 dragons and 30 elephants, the shifty-eyed man's body shuddered as if it were being crushed by a great mountain. Crack, crack, every bone and sinew in his body shattered. His internal organs were pulverized, his face flooding with blood. His entire body turned crimson as he looked at you in utter disbelief. You sighed and said, "I actually wanted to spare your life." The shifty-eyed man collapsed. On the surface, aside from his entire body being bright red, there was no other difference. But on the inside, everything was shattered, completely pulverized by your 30 dragons and 30 elephants. The power of a single palm strike. For a cultivator of the 5th prohibition, the power of 30 dragons and 30 elephants is too terrifying. Utterly invincible, you carried the shifty-eyed man's body out of the scripture pavilion and used your true chi to blast open a large crater on a mountaintop. You buried him right there, giving him a final resting place. Afterwards, you returned to the scripture pavilion to examine the secret manual, the 10 Yama Kings. The 10 Yama Kings manual looked very unassuming from the outside. Upon opening it, the contents were a disorganized mess, which is why it had been overlooked. But you examined the manual carefully, infusing it with your true chi. As you continuously activated it, the seemingly ordinary manual slowly began to change color. A dark golden light emerged from its pages, carrying a deep and profound aura. Just looking at it felt as if it could suck the very essence from a person. Legend says that 300 years ago, the Shakia demon king transcended mortality by relying on this very technique, the 10 Yama Kings. This is a miraculous cultivation technique. If practiced successfully, one can manifest the legendary Yama's hell and the 10 Yama Kings within one's own body. Using the power of the 10 Yama Kings to strengthen yourself, you once again carefully flipped through this secret manual. You studied it intently, even among the vast collection of books in the scripture pavilion. Among so many cultivation techniques, the only one comparable to the 10 Yama Kings was the Feather Transformation Ascension Sutra. It doesn't matter if it's the demon sect, the Taoist sect, or the Buddhist sect. You can cultivate them all. Just as the ocean accepts 100 rivers, greatness comes from tolerance. I will cultivate the strengths of 100 schools of thought. I will merge the source of 10,000 techniques and forge my own invincible method. You took the 10 Yama Kings back to your study, lit by a single, lonely lamp. You read intently through the night as time passed in silence. The night slipped away, and the first ray of morning sunlight streamed in. A deeper understanding of the 10 Yama Kings had formed in your mind. You thought of the hells described in the Taoist scriptures, the 18 levels of hell, the 10 Yama Kings, ox head and horseface, the soul reapers, and so on. You also recalled the Sutra of Kayasitagarba's vows, which also contained records of hell and its kings. Hell has always existed in people's imaginations and legends. Whether it truly exists, no one knows. But the stories have been passed down since ancient times. The 10 Yama Kings are King Qingwang, King Chuzhong, King Songdi, King Wugan, King Yanluo, King Biancheng, King Taishan, King Dushi, and King Pingding. The king of the turning wheel and the 10 Yama kings each have their own duties. Each serves a purpose and is immensely powerful. They support the entirety of hell, with countless ghost soldiers and generals under their command. To successfully cultivate the 10 Yama kings technique, you must visualize the 10 Yama kings. You then incorporate them into your body to form terrifying combat power. So you constantly envision various scenes from hell in your mind, projecting them into your body. Energy surges along the great spinal dragon, opening up a dwelling for the 10 Yama kings. You store the 10 Yama kings in the great spinal dragon, with each vertebra holding one Yama king. Together, they are the 10 Yama kings, supporting your very backbone. By that time, the dragon elephant power of your body, combined with the 10 Yama kings, will unleash an incredible level of combat power. I will cultivate my primordial spirit with the feather transformation ascension scripture and the primordial spirit transcendence method, and cultivate my physical body with the dragon elephant power and the 10 Yama kings. They do not interfere with each other, yet they are interconnected. By cultivating both primordial spirit and body, I will reach the legendary 9th forbidden realm together. At that time, my body will be home to the legions of demons I've visualized, while my primordial spirit will contain the gods I've comprehended. By combining the two, perhaps I can break through the barrier of the 9th forbidden realm, which no one has broken in recent times. You hold great aspirations. Your path of cultivation is to be like the ocean, embracing 100 rivers. Forging 100 scriptures in one furnace, you will support the legendary gods with your primordial spirit. With your body, you will suppress the demon hordes of hell. Between heaven and earth, you alone will be the honored one. This is the path you are destined to walk. Though it amounts to little now, you firmly believe that by continuing down this path, both your body and primordial spirit will achieve transcendence. And so it was. You silently created the dwellings for the 10 Yama kings as the days passed one by one. You settled your mind and focused wholeheartedly on your cultivation. The great spinal dragon was opened section by section, and the visualized 10 Yama kings took up residence inside. Then, you began to circulate the technique. Rumble. Inside your body, energy rushed like a flood, washing over your flesh. Your original immense strength of 30 dragons and 30 elephants was cleansed and baptized by this current of energy. It grew ever stronger. At this moment, 5 elements divine beasts coiled within your organs let out a roar. The 10 Yama kings residing in the great spinal dragon thundered and quaked in response. Shaking your physical body, in your sea of consciousness, your primordial spirit, surrounded by stars, trembled along with them. Your power began to soar, rising directly from 30 dragons and 30 elephants to 40 dragons and 40 elephants. Your forbidden realm also rose, reaching the absolute peak of the 5th forbidden realm, the primordial spirit grandmaster. From 30 dragons and 30 elephants, your strength shot up to 40 dragons and 40 elephants, and your forbidden realm also ascended, reaching the absolute peak of the 5th forbidden realm of primordial spirit grandmaster, yet you still hadn't broken through to the 6th. On this day, the sunlight was warm and gentle. A light breeze brushed against your face as the sun shone upon the earth. All life was reawakening. The winter snows had melted away. Spring had arrived. Within the scripture pavilion, the aroma of tea filled the air. The scent of sandalwood was refreshing. As you were brewing tea, you were also checking on the cultivation of the 3 little ones. The 3 of them had always been very diligent, never slacking off, so they were making great progress. It's just that cultivation is always easy at the beginning, but gets progressively harder the further you go. The 3 little ones are all stuck at the peak of the 2nd prohibition, unable to break through to the 3rd. So today, they've asked for your guidance, hoping to break through the threshold to the 3rd prohibition. As soon as the 3 little ones finished their cultivation, they immediately ran to your side. They looked at you with pleading eyes. Martial uncle, how on earth can I break through? Wen Xinyan, as the eldest martial sister, took the lead in asking. The other 2 little ones also stared at you eagerly. You smiled and said, there is nothing wrong with your cultivation. You just need to keep building your foundation. The 3rd prohibition is quite simple. You mustn't be impatient. Martial uncle, the Yuha sect is in grave danger right now. That's why we want to break through sooner, so we can help you and our master. Wen Xinyan said urgently, yes. That Taisheng Dao has gone too far, daring to besiege our Yuha sect. I want to get stronger as soon as I can to do my part for the sect. Zhou Tianzi said, Martial uncle, we know you are profoundly knowledgeable, and that cultivation can't be rushed. But the situation is dire. We must ask for your guidance, Martial uncle. Yu Deshan pleaded sincerely. You could see the earnestness on the faces of the 3 little ones. Your heart warmed. You thought about how the arrival of that recently ascended Dao ancestor of the 8th prohibition from the Taisheng Dao was drawing ever closer, and you couldn't help but say, other than the Yuha ascension scripture, you haven't practiced any other techniques, have you? The 3 little ones shook their heads together, so you said, in that case, I shall impart a different technique to each of you. The eyes of the 3 little ones lit up, and they looked at you with excitement. Wen Xinyan, you are a woman, but you have a resilient character and outstanding perseverance. I shall teach you the Flora Sword technique. Zhou Tianzi, you are calm and composed, with a broad-minded disposition. You enjoy delving into different subjects. I shall teach you the 10 halls of Yama. Yu Deshan, your constitution is special. You hold a divine essence within and have limitless potential. I shall teach you the power of the dragon elephant. Imparting these techniques to the 3 little ones was something you had intended all along. Some techniques were created by your predecessors, while others you comprehended on your own. But regardless of the technique, it needs people to practice it and to carry on its legacy. Only then can it truly shine. If you were to hoard these techniques and not pass them down, then it would be nothing more than you amusing yourself. As for others learning the techniques you pass on, and surpassing you, you weren't worried in the slightest. One with a heart as vast as the earth will attain clarity. One whose actions are as true as a carpenter's line will become renowned. A cultivator must be broad-minded and not be fixated on petty, immediate gains. If you lack even this level of magnanimity, how could you ever hope to reach a higher prohibition realm? The path of cultivation is one that grows lonelier the further you travel. Moreover, the power of a secret manual is determined by the practitioner's will. The very same cultivation technique, in the hands of different people, will reveal entirely different levels of power. Now you are passing on the techniques you yourself have comprehended. By the time these three little ones have matured, you will have long since mastered other, more powerful techniques. That is why, from the very beginning, you never planned on holding anything back. Model. He originally wanted to wait for the three little ones to break through the third restriction before teaching them these techniques. But since they strongly requested it, there's no harm in teaching them now. Wen Xinyan comes from a family of cultivators, but she isn't valued. She has suffered since childhood, and although she is a woman, her personality is resolute, making her the most suitable for the grass and wood sword technique. She isn't valued and has suffered since childhood. Although she is a woman, her personality is resolute. She's the most suitable for the grass and wood sword technique. The Zhou Tianzi family was annihilated, so she carries a deep-seated blood feud. Cultivating the 10 Yama Kings is more than suitable for her. As for Yu Deshan, you can only say that the dragon elephant power was tailor-made for him. Over the past year, Yu Deshan has been eating and drinking well in the feather transformation sect, and his body has grown even stronger. An 11-year-old kid, 1.9 meters tall, and he's far from done growing. The moment he stands there, he's like a magnificent mountain of flesh. His flesh isn't loose fat, but muscles forged like steel. He is an even better match for the dragon elephant power than you are. You look forward to seeing what kind of realm Yu Deshan will cultivate the dragon elephant power to in the future. After teaching the three little ones their different techniques one-on-one, you let them comprehend them on their own. If they don't understand anything, they can come and ask him. You, on the other hand, silently drink your tea. Looking out the window, time flies. In the blink of an eye, early spring is approaching. The melted snow flows into the mountain streams, following the veins of the great mountain, nourishing the forest. The plants, which have been storing energy all winter, are eager to absorb nutrients and burst forth with new green. The hibernating beasts and snakes awaken one after another. The mountain, silent for a season, is once again brimming with life. But the feather transformation sect has no life. On the contrary, the crisis is drawing ever closer. 6 months' time, because he previously spent 1 month reading books, and the cultivation of the 10 Yama Kings also took 1 month. There are only 4 months left, but you still haven't broken through the 6th restriction. In 4 months, the Tao ancestor of the 8th restriction from the Supreme Tao will come to destroy the feather transformation sect. If Bai Yunfei fails to break through, then you'll have to take the 3 little ones and slip away early. With this in mind, you look towards the golden summit of the feather transformation sect. On the golden summit, a thick, steady aura is absorbing and exhaling spiritual energy. There's no sign of a breakthrough at all. You sigh, no longer holding out hope, you focus on doing your own thing. He already stands at the absolute peak of the 5th restriction, possessing the terrifying, colossal strength of 40 dragons and 40 elephants. Even a cultivator at the 6th restriction would die on the spot if they took one of his punches. But even with this terrifying level of power, you are still unable to break through to the 6th restriction. The 6th restriction, comprehending the Tao rhythm. You have never comprehended any Tao rhythm. He has cultivated to this point, yet he still doesn't know what Tao rhythm is. He has also read through the Taoist scriptures, checking the information recorded inside about the 6th restriction's Tao rhythm. The Tao rhythm is a great Tao derived from the operating principles of heaven and earth, which cultivators must comprehend on their own. Once a cultivator comprehends the Tao rhythm, they can integrate it into their own techniques, making the techniques conform to the heavenly Tao and become immensely powerful. You can't help but wonder where he is supposed to go to comprehend the Tao rhythm. The Feather Ascension Gate is completely surrounded. Not even a single bird can fly through. In such a cramped space, how is he supposed to find enlightenment? You can't help but fret, yet the days continue to slip by, one after another. 4 months passed in the blink of an eye. During this time, every day, you can feel the presence of the Supreme Tao drawing closer. At first, they were over 100 miles away, but now, they have the mountain gate of the Feather Ascension Gate completely encircled. Their intentions couldn't be clearer. Your own state of mind has shifted from that initial anxiety and worry, from fear, to the absolute calm you feel now. Things have already come to this. There's no point in worrying anymore. If it truly comes to that, he will just protect the 3 children and break through the Supreme Tao's encirclement. With Bai Yunfei holding the line in front, the chances of him escaping are high, but unless it's absolutely necessary, you don't want to run away and abandon the place you've called home for 100 years. You really don't want to flee and give up the home where you've lived for 100 years. The moon hangs high in the sky, amidst a sea of stars. The Milky Way is reflected in the stream, and the library of scriptures is bathed in the falling moonlight. You hold an ancient Buddhist sutra in your hands, slowly turning the pages. The Feather Ascension Gate houses tens of thousands of books. Taoism, the demonic path, and Buddhism, there are scrolls for them all. There are even texts from the spirit race and the barbarians. The book you're reading now was written by a high monk of the Buddhist faith. He says that this world is one vast sea of suffering. People struggle within it. Mortals live for 100 years, drifting aimlessly, only to eventually sink to the bottom of the ocean. Cultivation is the act of breaking free from this sea of suffering to reach the other shore. But as for where that other shore lies, no one in this world knows. They can only give it their all, using every means at their disposal to brave the wind and waves in that sea of suffering, hoping to reach the other side. There are thousands of ways, but they all boil down to just two paths. Some use their physical body as a boat to ferry themselves across. Others let their soul transcend to reach the other shore. Neither path is easy. That is why cultivation is like rowing a boat against the current. Everyone is fighting for it. As the Taoist masters say, the great Tao has 50 paths, and the heavens execute 49. People fight for that one path that escaped, but the high monks say, life is filled with 8 types of suffering: aging, death, and the pain of being parted from those you love. The persistence of resentment, the agony of unfulfilled desires, and the inability to let go. You find yourself becoming lost in these words. If this world is indeed a vast sea of suffering, how is he supposed to cross it? In the sea of suffering, one should naturally use the physical body as a vessel, with the soul as its pilot. When the two become one can transcend the sea of suffering and reach the other shore. Clutching the scriptures, you sit there in silence all through the night. Early the next morning, at the very moment the sun rises and the moon sets, in that instant, where the rising sun and the waning moon coexisted, you suddenly opened your eyes. In your pupils, yin and yang flowed. That was the accumulation of your past efforts. Although you had never broken through the 6th restriction, you were making progress every day. The progress wasn't huge, but it built up day by day. Piling up together, it finally erupted in a moment of enlightenment. As you opened your eyes, you could feel the convergence of yin and yang. At this moment, your mind was perfectly clear. Inspiration surged, and a line of words appeared before your eyes. Your inspiration exploded, activating your heaven-defying comprehension. You comprehended. A fish leaps into the sea. Rumble. Outside the scripture pavilion, amidst the towering mountains, white clouds churned. Like waves in the ocean, the energy of heaven and earth surged. It changed rapidly, as if someone were fishing. The fish took the bait and was lifted straight up. All that time spent waiting was the time you spent accumulating. Once the accumulation was sufficient, the fish naturally came. At this moment, every little bit of your usual efforts erupted forth. With a single thought, it was like grabbing the fishing rod and giving it a sharp pull. Boom, boom, boom. Outside the scripture pavilion, amidst the towering mountains, within the churning white clouds, a massive white carp was hooked and pulled up. The great white carp's eyes held yin and yang. Its body leapt, shimmering brilliantly in the first rays of the morning sun. At the same time, the energy within your body surged like a tidal wave. Raging violently, it broke through the barrier of the 5th restriction. With this one leap, you broke through to the 6th restriction. 6 months of accumulation, relying on the other shore of the bitter sea, written by the old monk. You comprehended. A fish leaps into the sea, and successfully broke through to the 6th restriction. You comprehended. A fish leaps into the sea, and successfully broke through to the 6th restriction. This was a pleasant surprise for you. You had never been able to perceive the Tao resonance before. You thought it would be impossible to break through the 6th restriction so quickly, but unexpectedly, a chance reading allowed you to break through rapidly. After entering the 6th restriction, the Tao resonance you perceived entered your sea of consciousness. Beneath your primordial spirit, which was surrounded by a sky full of stars, a great white carp was swimming peacefully. The immense energy from the great white carp spread from your primordial spirit's sea of consciousness to your entire body. Rumble. It began to frantically cleanse your entire body. Your muscles expanded, your power swelled. In an instant, you broke through the barrier of 40 dragons and 40 elephants. Your entire body turned crimson red. Like a boiled shrimp, the immense energy rampaged within your body. This caused a vision to appear behind you. A true dragon roared, soaring through the heavens. A divine elephant bellowed, stomping the earth apart. It was utterly terrifying. Crackle, crackle, crackle. The energy in your body churned, crashing like giant waves, pouring down like a waterfall. It elevated your power without limit. 50 dragons and 50 elephants. Only when it reached 100 dragons and 100 elephants did this energy slowly calm down. After your surging energy recovered, he said with a smile, books say that starting from the 5th prohibition, every subsequent level is an earth-shattering change. As expected, they weren't lying. The power of 100 dragons and 100 elephants. Once this power is unleashed, it will absolutely roil the rivers and stir the seas. And this is only the 6th prohibition. Just how powerful are the 7th and 8th prohibitions? As long as you're given time, becoming stronger won't be a problem at all. But the Ascension sect doesn't have much time now. The Supreme Tao sect has already completely surrounded us, closing in on the mountain gate. Half a year has passed. That Tao ancestor who just broke through to the 8th prohibition could arrive at any moment. At this rate, the joy from your breakthrough vanished. You looked towards the Golden Summit Grand Hall. Bai Yunfei has been in seclusion there for over 2 years, and his aura hasn't changed at all. I have no idea when he'll break through. Fortunately, I had an epiphany about the Tao's rhythm. Comprehended. A fish leaps into the vast sea, and broke through to the 6th prohibition. With the power of 100 dragons and 100 elephants, I can barely be considered to have the strength to protect myself. If we're truly pushed into a desperate corner, I can give it my all. And escape with the 3 little ones. You sighed inwardly. You truly couldn't bear to leave the scripture pavilion where you've lived for 100 years. Now, all you can do is pray that Bai Yunfei breaks through soon. Through the scripture pavilion, you looked down the mountain. At every interval, you could see disciples of the Supreme Tao sect standing guard. Layer upon layer, the security was extremely tight. sealing off all the surroundings of the Ascension sect. Most of these disciples are only at the 3rd or 4th prohibition level. The one leading them is a 7th prohibition elder named Qing Shan. He is watching, only blockading the Ascension sect, without entering. He was once defeated by Bai Yunfei. Before the 8th prohibition Dao ancestor arrives, he definitely won't take the initiative to attack. Elder Qing Shan, why are we surrounding them but not attacking? A disciple asked curiously. Elder Qing Shan had a sallow complexion and a gaunt figure. Hearing the question, he said, the Ascension sect's master, Bai Yunfei, is very powerful. We need to wait for the 8th prohibition Dao ancestor to get here. Which Dao ancestor is coming? 6th prohibition disciple asked. It is our Supreme Dao sect's newly ascended 8th prohibition Dao ancestor, Chang Sun Yu. Elder Qing Shan said in a deep voice, Chang Sun Yu. He seems to be Chang Sun Wuji's younger brother. The 6th prohibition cultivator thought for a moment and said in surprise. Elder Qing Shan nodded. That's him. Over 100 years ago, Chang Sun Wuji was young, exceptionally talented, and not even 100 years old, when he became an 8th prohibition Dao ancestor of our Supreme Dao sect. But it was a pity. He encountered another genius, Zhou Sheng. In the Battle of the Yellow Sand Ancient Road, Zhou Sheng, with his 7th prohibition cultivation, unleashed the Ascension scripture and killed Chang Sun Wuji, a Dao ancestor who had just broken through to the 8th prohibition, making a great name for himself. This provoked our Supreme Dao sect's grand ancestor to personally take action and kill him. It was at that time that Chang Sun Yu announced he was entering a death seclusion, vowing not to come out until he broke through. I never expected that in the blink of an eye, 100 years would pass and he would finally break through to the 8th prohibition, achieving the rank of Dao ancestor. The 6th prohibition disciple knew the story of Chang Sun Yu perfectly. Go on, Elder Qingshan is listening. He sighed. Indeed, Chang Sun Wuji and I joined the sect together. He had a meteoric rise. When I had just reached the 3rd restriction, he had already broken through to the 6th. By the time I was fortunate enough to reach the 5th restriction, he was already an 8th restriction Dao ancestor. He was hailed as the Supreme Dao's once in 5,000-year peerless genius. But unfortunately, he met the even more monstrously talented Zhou Sheng and tragically fell. Chang Sun Yu wasn't as talented as his brother, but he always wanted to avenge him. After 100 years of seclusion, he broke through to the 8th restriction Dao ancestor. The first thing he did after emerging was to come here and annihilate the Yuha sect. After spending half a year stabilizing his realm, Dao ancestor Chang Sun Yu sent word. He will arrive today, so today is the day the Yuha sect falls. Elder Qingshan looked toward the Yuha sect's Golden Summit Grand Hall, his eyes gleaming with triumph. So what if you're powerful, Bai Yunfei? Your backing is weak, it's impossible to defy fate. Boom! Just as Elder Qingshan finished speaking, a series of sonic booms suddenly ripped through the air. It was the sound of extreme speed, arriving like a streak of light. It created sonic booms, drawing closer and closer. The vibrations made the forest tremble as everyone watched. A figure appeared, hovering in the air before the Yuha sect's Golden Summit Grand Hall. Profound and mysterious Dao flowed around him. His face was handsome. He stood upon yin and yang, and there was a halo of golden light behind his head. His robes fluttered, like a transcendent immortal treading upon the void. He moved as if taking a leisurely stroll, his bearing proud and lofty. He was filled with confidence. This was Chang Sun Yu. When Elder Qingshan saw Chang Sun Yu, he said with a look of reminiscence. He's looking more and more like his brother, that fallen peerless genius of the Supreme Dao. Chang Sun Wuji, in front of the scripture depository, you stood with Wen Xinyan and the 2 others, watching with a grave expression. The 3 little ones also knew this was a life or death moment for the Yuha sect. Jinlan Theater, their faces were all tense. They clenched their fists, incredibly tense. Not daring to speak, they were now at the 3rd restriction level of cultivation. 12-year-old peerless geniuses at the 3rd restriction. But a peerless genius who doesn't get the chance to mature is of no use in the current situation. But a peerless genius who doesn't get the chance to mature is useless in a situation like this. Land Theater, the only person who can truly make a difference is Bai Yunfei. Inside the Golden Summit Grand Hall, Chang Sun Yu arrived with overwhelming power. Of course, Bai Yunfei sensed his arrival, so he emerged from the Golden Summit Grand Hall after more than 2 years in seclusion. Over 2 years of seclusion hadn't changed Bai Yunfei one bit. He was dressed in white, his skin fair and clear. He still had a baby face, looking as if he were just a teenager. But his eyes held the weight of ages, unlike the innocent eyes of a child. Master's out, Wen Xinyan said upon seeing Bai Yunfei. She tugged on the corner of your robe, her voice filled with happy surprise. Zhou Tianzi and Yu Deshan were also thrilled, looking at Bai Yunfei with great anticipation. You looked at him too. After his breakthrough to the 6th restriction, one could clearly see the aura around Bai Yunfei, the peak of the 7th forbidden realm. After more than 2 years in seclusion, he had not taken that final step. He hadn't broken through to the level of an 8th forbidden Dao ancestor. His opponent, Zhang Sun Yu, was a genuine 8th forbidden Dao ancestor. Could he possibly win? Before the Golden Summit Hall of the Yuha sect, Zhang Sun Yu stood arrogantly in the air, staring at the baby-faced Bai Yunfei, his expression blank. It was the first time he had ever seen Bai Yunfei. He had no personal grudge against him, but their opposing allegiances sealed Bai Yunfei's fate. A cold glint flashed in Zhang Sun Yu's eyes. So, you're the current headmaster of the Yuha sect. Atop the Golden Summit Hall, a gentle breeze swept by, rustling the corner of Bai Yunfei's robes as he stood with his hands clasped behind his back. He nodded. I am the 120th headmaster of the Yuha sect. Bai Yunfei, I heard you've been in death seclusion for the past 2 years. Hoping to break through to the 8th Forbidden Realm and save the Yuha sect. Zhang Sun Yu's tone was mocking. He himself had spent 100 years in death seclusion to reach the 8th Forbidden Realm. For Bai Yunfei to expect success after just 2 years was nothing but a fool's dream. Bai Yunfei nodded. That's right, I had many enlightenments during my seclusion, and though I'm still one step shy of the 8th Forbidden Realm, I don't think killing you will be a problem. Zhang Sun Yu laughed with rage. He said with contempt, the headmaster of the Yuha sect is nothing but a delusional good-for-nothing who talks big. Defeating someone in the 8th Forbidden Realm as a 7th? You must be daydreaming. Bai Yunfei said leisurely, over 100 years ago, a disciple of my Yuha sect named Zhou Sheng managed to defeat an 8th Forbidden Realm master while only at the 7th. How can you call that daydreaming? Zhang Sun Yu's expression instantly turned terrifyingly cold. His eyes were fixed on Bai Yunfei, bloodshot veins of madness spreading within them. The incident Bai Yunfei mentioned was an eternal scar deep in his heart. Zhang Sun Yu gritted his teeth. Do you have any idea who the person killed by Zhou Sheng was? Bai Yunfei frowned, thinking. I believe it was an 8th Forbidden Dao ancestor by the name of Zhang Sun Wuji. Zhang Sun Yu said coldly, and do you know my name? Bai Yunfei looked at Zhang Sun Yu, his eyes narrowing. He said nothing. Zhang Sun Yu's face was frosty. Staring intently at Bai Yunfei, he said, my name is Zhang Sun Yu. I am Zhang Sun Wuji's younger brother. Bai Yunfei suddenly understood. He pointed at Zhang Sun Yu and said, so, you're here to avenge your brother. Zhang Sun Yu replied, his voice full of hatred. Zhou Sheng killed my brother, but he, in turn, was killed by the grand ancestor of my supreme Dao sect. I can't take revenge on him personally, so I will destroy the Yuha sect to appease my brother's spirit in the heavens. But he, in turn, was killed by the grand ancestor of my supreme Dao sect. Can't take revenge on him personally, so I will destroy the Yuha sect to appease my brother's spirit in the heavens. Bai Yunfei stated bluntly, then I'm afraid you're going to be disappointed. You won't be able to destroy the Yuha sect. Zhang Sun Yu sneered, I won't be able to? What a joke. Besides you, in the current Yuha sect, who else is there of any consequence? Don't tell me it's those few in the scripture pavilion over there. With one at the 6th prohibition leading 3 disciples at the 3rd, plus you at the 7th. Who in the Yuha sect can stop me? Chang Sun Yu spread his hands wide, looking at Bai Yunfei with arrogance, completely disregarding you in the scripture pavilion. Bai Yunfei paid no mind to Chang Sun Yu's arrogance. Instead, he looked towards the scripture pavilion. Senior brother, he said in surprise, you've broken through to the 6th prohibition. He clearly remembered that before his seclusion, his senior brother had only just reached the 3rd prohibition. It has only been a few years, and he's already at the 6th prohibition. Why did it feel like his senior brother was the one in death seclusion, and not him? In front of the scripture pavilion, you sensed Bai Yunfei's gaze. You smiled faintly. Junior brother, it's been a while. Bai Yunfei nodded. Congratulations, senior brother, on reaching the 6th prohibition. It's certainly a joyous occasion, but regarding today's crisis, it won't help at all, you said, ashamed. If you were given a few more years, against this 8th prohibition Dao ancestor, you might be able to put up a fight, Bai Yunfei said with a smile. Crisis? The Yuha sect is in no crisis. It's just 1/8 prohibition Dao ancestor. Nothing to worry about. Bai Yunfei's bold words infuriated Chang Sun Yu. His eyes narrowed. The aura around his body seethed, rising steadily higher, as his techniques and divine abilities activated from within his body. A sound like the galaxy crashing down from the heavens echoed, vast and torrential. Suddenly, thunder cracked between heaven and earth, and a furious wind howled. It swept through the area, making him look like a supreme Dao ancestor in command of the elements. This moment, Chang Sun Yu stood alone in the void. His entire body radiated light, like a furnace of heaven and earth. Roasting everything in all directions, his powerful aura made many tremble. An 8th prohibition Dao ancestor was no mere empty title. Inside the scripture pavilion, you felt this aura. Even though it wasn't directed at you, the pressure was immense. If you were to face him directly, even with your power of 100 dragons and mammoths, you feared you wouldn't even last a single round. Although the 6th and 8th prohibitions are only 2 realms apart, the difference between them was like that of the heavens and the earth. At this moment, atop the golden summit of the Yuha sect, the entire main hall was enveloped in a sacred light. It was like a furnace refining precious metals, seemingly unbreakable. Chang Sun Yu stood in the center like a god, impervious to all techniques. He was like a great mountain, majestic and unmoving, and like the blazing sun, he shone with a brilliant radiance. The light he radiated was so brilliant that no one could look at him directly. And you still say that this is nothing to worry about? Chang Sun Yu's voice boomed. Like an angered god, he questioned Bai Yunfei. Seeing this, the others from the Supreme Dao sect all began to cheer. An 8th prohibition Dao ancestor is truly this powerful. Hearing the cheers, Chang Sun Yu felt a surge of pride. As long as no one at the 9th prohibition appeared in this world, he was in existence at the very pinnacle of power. But when he turned his gaze to Bai Yunfei, only to find that Bai Yunfei wasn't panicked or afraid at all. Instead, under his immense pressure, he remained as calm as a gentle breeze, perfectly composed. It was as if he had merged with the heavens and earth. Bai Yunfei didn't answer Zhang Sun Yu's interrogation. Instead, he asked, how did Zhou Sheng manage to kill your brother from a lower rank back then? Zhang Sun Yu's face darkened as he growled, why are you asking about that? Bai Yunfei smiled and took a step forward. Was it this technique? Boom, his aura suddenly exploded, blasting straight toward the heavens. In an instant, a brilliant celestial light filled the sky, blotting out the sun. It instantly shattered Jang Sun-Yu's 8th forbidden aura, making the firmament tremble. Waves of energy surged, pouring down and covering everything in sight. At this moment, Bai Yunfei stood before the golden peaked Great Hall. With an aura that could swallow the world, a pure white Tao light manifested from within his body. It pierced through the clouds, transforming brilliantly beneath the vault of heaven. Within this pure white Tao light, a world was slowly taking shape. It held the laws of birth and the cycle of death for all living beings. All life within it was silent and still. Jang Sun-Yu was stunned. He had seen this scene before. His mind involuntarily flashed back to over 100 years ago, when from a great distance. He witnessed Zhou Sheng manifest this same white Tao light to kill his brother. Jang Sun-Yu stared at Bai Yunfei in shock and rage, gritting his teeth as he hissed. This is the Ascension Sutra. As soon as those words were spoken, everyone was horrified. No one was a stranger to the Ascension Sutra. It was the supreme scripture of the Ascension sect. It was a legendary Tao scripture famous throughout the cultivation world, a secret art lost 300 years ago. 100 years ago, during Zhou Sheng's final battle, his immense enlightenment brought the lost Ascension Sutra back to the world. It also claimed the life of a genius from the Taisheng Tao who only appears once every 5,000 years. But with Zhou Sheng's fall, the Ascension Sutra was lost once again. How could Bai Yunfei know it? Jang Sun-Yu glared fixedly at Bai Yunfei, his composed mindset having completely crumbled. He roared, "How do you know the Ascension Sutra?" Bai Yunfei didn't answer, he attacked immediately. At this moment, he looked like an ancient Tao ancestor. Shrouded in pure white Tao light, he manifested the mortal world. Accompanied by sharp streaks of Tao light that could chill 1,000 atoms. Over 100 years ago, Zhou Sheng used the 7th forbidden realm to slay your brother. More than 100 years later, I, Bai Yunfei, can also slay you from the 7th forbidden realm. Both you and your brother will perish under the Ascension Sutra. Bai Yunfei unleashed the Ascension Sutra, shrouded in a sea of Tao light. He soared into the sky, striking directly at Jang Sun-Yu, who stood in the void. Under the blessing of the Ascension Sutra, he seemed like the sovereign of the great Tao. His aura surged violently, his life essence churning like a vast ocean. It overwhelmed half the sky, causing Jang Sun-Yu's expression to shift slightly. No longer daring to be dismissive, a cold glint flashed in Jang Sun-Yu's eyes. He shouted at the top of his lungs, "I will never let history repeat itself." Boom, Jang Sun-Yu unleashed his own secret art. With both hands sliding, the patterns of the great Tao begin to appear across the sky. A heart-pounding aura spreads everywhere. It is a force of pure destruction. Cruel and terrifying, these patterns of the Tao interweave with one another. They form a massive, pitch-black claw that blots out the sun and the sky. In nearly an instant, it covers the heavens, stretching over 100 meters wide. It is utterly terrifying. At the same time, accompanied by thunder and lightning, it completely traps Bai Yunfei beneath it. Bolts of lightning race and crisscross through the air, striking down from between those massive talons. They strike with killing intent. This is the secret art of the Taisheng Tao, the thunderous claw. It is swift, fierce, and overbearing. The giant claw hangs in the air, dominating the battlefield and crushing the world below. This powerful assault makes one feel as if they are suffocating, but Bai Yunfei shows no fear. Endless light of the Tao surges from his body into the sky, and with a wave of his hand, a brilliant radiance sweeps across the 10 directions. He blocks the lightning strikes. Standing there, he looks like an immortal king looking down upon the mortal realm. The light of the Tao naturally radiating from his body is so vast it covers the sun. Facing his ascension, Bai Yunfei meets the threat with total composure. He meets the attack with his right fist, which is saturated in the light of the Tao. That fist no longer looks like it's made of flesh and blood, it is radiant and blinding. Like a sphere formed by the great Tao itself, his fist punches upward against the heavens. In an instant, he shatters that massive claw of light, his momentum not slowing for a second. Half the sky flashes with electric sparks. Bai Yunfei's fist possesses unparalleled destructive power. His Tao light is indestructible, instantly blowing apart one of Jang Sun-Yu's arms as he stands in midair. Droplets of blood scatter into the void, transforming into streaks of light. Jang Sun-Yu screams in agony, as if bitten by a venomous snake. He is sent flying backward. This is impossible. The shock in Jang Sun-Yu's heart is beyond words. At this very moment, he thinks back to that battle over 100 years ago. His brother was also at the 8th ban cultivation level. Back then, he fought Zhou Sheng who was only at the 7th ban. It was just like this. Once the Ascension Sutra exerted its power, even his genius brother was no match for it. No, I will never let that happen again. Jang Sun-Yu roars, his white hair flying wildly in the wind. The energy within his body surges violently. Right before everyone's eyes, he actually regrows his severed limb. Such is the power of an 8th ban Tao ancestor. Once his arm has regenerated, Jang Sun-Yu does not hesitate for a moment. His hands move rapidly as if he is lifting a massive mountain. A terrifying aura erupts from his body like a wild tide crashing against the sky. Boom, as his hands slide through the air, a mountain peak manifests behind him, emitting an indescribable, heavy pressure. It carries a crushing force like no other. It is the mountain suppressing seal. The disciples of the Taisheng Tao cry out in shock. That's the ultimate technique of our sect. He is transforming his own strength into a mountain to crush all who stand before him. As the mountain takes shape, it sends out terrifying waves of energy like a vast ocean. It is incredibly heavy, and the void itself begins to collapse under the weight. "I will crush you," Jang Sun-yu bellows. He slams his hands down, and the mountain-suppressing seal behind him crashes straight toward the earth. It's unstoppable. A massive peak is crashing straight down. This kind of power could tear a soul apart. It gives the spectators a terrifying sense of suffocation. They can't catch their breath at all. Those young disciples of the Tai Shang sect around them collapsed onto the ground on the spot. This immense pressure is like a demonic mountain, crushing them down, making it absolutely impossible for them to endure. It's suppressing them, leaving them with no way to bear it. Inside the Sutra Pavilion, Wen Xingyun and the other two are also under massive pressure, but they haven't knelt. Because you're in front, shielding them from most of it, that tiny bit of pressure left was leaked by you on purpose. To let them experience it and temper themselves. Right now, you aren't even blinking as you watch this grand battle. He truly understands now, starting from the 6th Forbidden Realm. Each realm is a whole different world. Entering a new realm is like stepping into another dimension. He is struggling to resist the aura of an 8th realm master going all out, even if that pressure isn't aimed at him. He still has to give it his all to face it. This is a fundamental gap. A gap in their understanding of the great Tao and themselves. There's just no comparison between the 6th and 8th realms. It's a good thing you possess the strength of 100 dragons and 100 elephants. That's why you can still stand firm. Look at the Tai Shang sect side. The cultivators of the 6th realm have fallen to their knees, desperately trying to hold on. But they're still being crushed, their faces turning bright red and their veins bulging. Only Elder Qingshan of the 7th realm can stay on his feet, but even he isn't having an easy time. He's resisting with everything he's got. High up in the sky, Bai Yunfei watches the mountain suppression seal descending, the great Tao swirling in his eyes. The Ascension scripture surfaces in his mind, actually allowing him to see through the very essence of the seal. In the next second, a spark of divine inspiration hits Bai Yunfei. His hands move slowly, releasing an equally terrifying aura. Above his head, a massive mountain also appears out of thin air. It's as if it surged through ancient lands, tearing through time and space to get here. Its sheer scale and majesty leave everyone around them pale with shock. They can't stop trembling. One mountain suppression seal wasn't enough? Now there's another one. You guys are fighting, but we're the ones suffering for it. Even Elder Qingshan of the 7th realm, who seemed fine a moment ago, has his back hunched over now, his face flushing red. Only you are still standing firm, holding your ground. Within your eyes, a large white carp is swimming slowly. It emits a profound, mysterious energy that shields him from this horrific pressure. Only now do you truly realize what they mean by gods fighting and mortals suffering the consequences. But up in the sky, the battle between Bai Yunfei and Zhang Sunyu has reached a fever pitch. The mountain suppression seal keeps bearing down. Its momentum is overwhelming, packed with immense pressure. But the mountain manifested by Bai Yunfei is just as fierce, like a dragon rising from the vast sea. Like a pillar of heaven rising from the earth, a majestic ancient peak. It stands right above Bai Yunfei now. It looks as if he's carrying the very heavens on his back. In this moment, with Bai Yunfei as the center, powerful energy fluctuations roar out like a surging river, crashing forth in waves. Raging in all directions, right above his head, a great mountain held up the sky, with silver waterfalls cascading down. Rushing rivers surged, ancient trees towered to the heavens. Birds and beasts fled, all clearly visible. Mountain suppressing seal, Bai Yunfei roared. He held his hands to the sky, and a great mountain materialized in the air. Like a dragon emerging from the abyss, it fiercely tore through the sky. Mountain suppressing seal versus mountain suppressing seal. Boom! In that instant, the heavens shattered and a violent storm erupted. The two immense, manifested mountains collided. The energy they produced was like a quaking sea and sinking land, as if the world itself was ending. Terrifying aura blasted in all directions, with violent waves everywhere. Destructive power was everywhere. A terrifying aura blasted in all directions. Violent waves everywhere, destructive power everywhere. Beneath this sky, there was no longer a single peaceful spot. The power of an 8th Forbidden Tao ancestor was truly on full display. A series of deafening booms seemed to overturn heaven and earth, after the two great mountains violently collided, with a loud crack. The descending mountain suppressing seal shattered instantly, its aura sweeping across the world and blasting in all directions. Chang Sun Yu's mountain suppressing seal was utterly defeated. Bai Yunfei's mountain suppressing seal remained solid, refusing to disperse. Emitting a terrifying power, it pressed directly down on Chang Sun Yu. No, Chang Sun Yu panicked. He immediately tried to flee. He was terrified. The memory from over 100 years ago surfaced clearly in his mind. His older brother had died under the mysterious feather transformation Ascension Sutra. He didn't want to suffer the same fate. Chang Sun Yu could never have imagined that his own, authentic mountain suppressing seal would actually lose to Bai Yunfei's copied version. He transformed into a streak of light and fled. He fled without the slightest hesitation, even shouting out, "Qing Shan, go kill the other members of the feather transformation sect." This was to distract Bai Yunfei so he would stop chasing him. Upon hearing this, Elder Qing Shan didn't hesitate. He flew towards the scripture pavilion. He couldn't defeat Bai Yunfei, but killing a few disciples of a lower cultivation level was no problem at all. Sure enough, Bai Yunfei hesitated. He didn't know whether to continue the pursuit or stay behind to protect them. At that moment, Yu stepped forward and said in a loud voice, "Junior brother, keep chasing him, slay him, I will protect the feather transformation sect." Bai Yunfei trusted you completely. Hearing your words, he no longer hesitated and decisively went after Chang Sun Yu. At the Feather Transformation Sect's Scripture Pavilion, Elder Qing Shan flew up. He came face to face with you in front of the Scripture Pavilion. Elder Qing Shan, a seventh forbidden, stared at you, his eyes turning cold as he spoke. You told Bai Yunfei not to come back? You truly are not afraid to die. You calmly say, you can't kill me. How arrogant, you're only at the 6th realm. You only have 3 third realm disciples behind you, and Bai Yunfei has already gone after Dao ancestor Chang Sun Yu. Where do you get your confidence from? Qing Shan says disdainfully. He walks toward you, his aura intensifying and pouring out. Each step he takes is like ascending to a new heaven. The 3 people behind you watch nervously. Although they are afraid, looking at their martial uncle's upright back. They are instantly inspired, all of them glaring resentfully at Qing Shan. You give a small smile and slowly raise your hand. With a boom, an infinite Dao light erupts from your palm. The light flickers, dazzling and blinding, manifests a world above your head. Crack. Qing Shan stops in his tracks, exclaiming in horror. This is the Ascension Scripture. You nod calmly and say, just now, my junior martial brother defeated an 8th realm opponent while being at the 7th realm. So now, for me to defeat a 7th realm opponent at the 6th realm, that should be possible, don't you think? Qing Shan can't help but retreat 2 steps. The great battle from just now had made him incredibly wary of the Ascension Scripture. He felt the urge to retreat, but after taking 2 steps back, Land Theater. Qing Shan suddenly remembers the Land Theater. Many disciples of the Supreme Dao are watching there. If an elder like him were to be frightened off, wouldn't he lose all his dignity? If an elder like him were to be scared away, wouldn't he lose all his dignity? And so, he stops in his tracks. He says with a cold expression, I know you've been cultivating for over 100 years. And you were only at the 1st realm. Your sudden rapid advancement these past few years must be due to the Ascension Scripture. But breaking through so violently, your foundation must be unstable, I presume? The Ascension Scripture that you're using, can it possibly be the same as the one Bai Yunfei used? You just smile. You walk forward slowly. You're welcome to try. Qing Shan's face grows cold, and he hardens his resolve. He strikes without hesitation. A brilliant light erupts from between his eyebrows. It's incredibly resplendent, as a painted scroll flies out. Rustling, the scroll is covered with innumerable Dao patterns. Right now, they are all glowing, as if a world is rising and falling within it. It covers the sky, pressing down on you. This is Elder Qing Shan's Dharma treasure, the Dao diagram, which he has refined for many years. It is one with him in heart and mind. Now, facing a 6th realm cultivator like you, he has decisively brought it out to kill his foe. This shows just how much he fears the Ascension Scripture. No matter what, he intends to kill you first before anything else. He doesn't want any unforeseen problems. At this very moment, the Dao diagram unleashes 1,000 streams of purple haze and 10,000 wisps of mist. It hovers in the sky, and a massive vortex appears. It attempts to pull you into the scroll. You face the Dao diagram's lethal attack. Your expression is still calm, but an intangible killing intent begins to fill the air. You imitate what Bai Yunfei did earlier, slowly moving your hands in a flowing motion. The light of the great Dao follows the motion of your hands and begins to surge. At this moment, right above your head, a giant mountain appears, just like the one Bai Yunfei used, the mountain suppressing seal. You let out a great shout and raise your hands to the sky. The great mountain materializes in the air, pressing directly down on Qingshan. Rumbling, the great mountain descends, colliding with his Dao diagram. Crack, the Dao diagram instantly shatters into pieces. Elder Qingshan cries out in pain, spitting blood. He is sent flying backward. He looks at you in terror, completely unable to believe that you, a practitioner of the 6th Forbidden Realm, could defeat him, a master of the 7th Forbidden Realm, in a single move. You step forward, striking out with another palm. Elder Qingshan does his utmost to block it, but with the power of 100 dragons and 100 elephants, amplified by the Feather Transformation Ascension Sutra, he stands no chance. Boom, as the palm lands, Elder Qingshan's body explodes, dissolving into a mist of blood, dead on the spot. At this, the disciples of the Supreme Dao sect turn pale as ashes, staring in shock at the figure before the Feather Transformation sect's scripture pavilion. This moment, you stand there quietly, your black hair dancing in the wind. Your eyes are clear, your Taoist robes pristine. You have slain a master of the 7th Forbidden Realm. At this moment, you stand there quietly, your black hair dancing in the wind. Your eyes are clear, your Taoist robes are spotless. You have slain a master of the 7th Forbidden Realm, yet not a single drop of blood has touched you. Behind you, the 3 little ones are looking at you with eyes full of worship, especially Wen Xinyan. Besides worship, she is also filled with excitement. Is the grass and wood sword technique really that terrifying? She vows to practice it diligently. You turn to the other disciples of the Supreme Dao sect and say coldly, if you're not gone within 3 breaths, you will all die. As soon as these words are spoken, the disciples of the Supreme Dao sect are terrified. And they scatter like frightened birds and beasts. Senior brother, why didn't we keep them all here? Zhou Tianzi, filled with killing intent, asks, after being suppressed by the Supreme Dao sect for the past few years. He was brimming with pent-up anger. You shake your head and say, it's not good to be too bloodthirsty. These are just small fry. The most important thing is what's happening with Master. I wonder if he's caught up to that Dao ancestor of the 8th Forbidden Realm. Yu Deshan says with worry as your voice fades. In the distance, where the sky and earth meet, a massive burst of energy erupts. Then, a bloody haze can be seen spreading across the sky as a body falls from it. Seeing this, you let out a soft chuckle. It seems your master has already slain that Tao ancestor of the 8th Forbidden Realm. A 7th Forbidden Realm practitioner defeating an 8th Forbidden Realm 1. A disciple of the Feather Transformation sect has done it again. Bai Yunfei has killed Chang Sun Yu, a 7th Forbidden Realm practitioner defeating an 8th Forbidden Realm 1. Thwarting the Supreme Tao sect's plan to destroy the Feather Transformation sect. After being besieged for several years, the Feather Transformation sect is finally free. No one is surrounding the gates of the Feather Transformation sect any longer. Whoosh, in just a moment, Bai Yunfei returned in a streak of light, landing in front of the scripture pavilion. He saw you and the 3 disciples. Senior brother, you killed Qing Shan, Bai Yunfei said in surprise. You smiled. You can fight against the 8th prohibition. What's the problem with me killing someone from the 7th? Bai Yunfei smiled and nodded. Senior brother, this is a sudden enlightenment. A great tower rises from level ground. I'm afraid it won't be long before you surpass me. You looked at the fluctuating aura around Bai Yunfei and asked, how far are you from the 8th prohibition? Whether Bai Yunfei could break through to the 8th prohibition concerned the very survival of the Yuha sect. Only if Bai Yunfei broke through to the 8th prohibition, with the help of the Feather Transformation Ascension Sutra, could the Yuha sect avoid being destroyed by the Supreme Tao sect, as long as no one from the 9th prohibition appeared. Bai Yunfei knew this as well, and said in a deep voice, I've been in seclusion for 3 years, and I always feel like something is missing. I just couldn't break through. However, that fight just now with Zhang Sun Yu allowed me to see many things clearly. The 8th prohibition is right before my eyes. You were finally relieved, although Bai Yunfei had just killed a Tao ancestor of the 8th prohibition. You were finally relieved, although Bai Yunfei had just killed a Tao ancestor of the 8th prohibition. That person had only just broken through, so their strength was nothing remarkable among those in the 8th prohibition. If you were to encounter a Tao ancestor at the peak of the 8th prohibition, it would be a tough fight even with the Feather Transformation Ascension Sutra. As Bai Yunfei was talking with you, he saw the 3 little ones who had grown up. He sighed with emotion. You've all grown so big. Wen Xinyan, Zhou Tianzi, and Yu Deshan respectfully called out, Greetings, master. Bai Yunfei said self-deprecatingly, compared to your senior uncle, I'm not a qualified master at all. Your senior uncle has taught you all very well. You said from the side, let's go into the scripture pavilion to talk. Bai Yunfei nodded and followed you into the scripture pavilion. The scripture pavilion housed tens of thousands of books and was incredibly vast. You were in a tea room by a cliff's edge, brewing tea and sitting across from Bai Yunfei. It was just like a few years ago. The only difference was, you were now in the prime of your life, while Bai Yunfei still had a baby face. His features were refined, and his skin was fair. He looked to be the same age as the 3 little ones beside him. After a while, the tea boiled. You poured a cup for everyone. You asked softly, Junior brother, now that the Yuha sect's crisis is temporarily resolved, what do you plan to do next? Bai Yunfei was the headmaster of the Yuha sect. He was the one to control its future direction. You were just the keeper of the scripture pavilion, and you enjoyed quietly growing stronger there. This time, the Supreme Tao sect retreated in defeat, but they definitely won't give up. Their next counterattack will surely be ferocious, so I must first break through to the 8th prohibition. Only by breaking through to the 8th prohibition can I withstand the Supreme Tao sect's retaliation. Bai Yunfei took a sip of tea and said in a deep voice, the Yuha sect will remain as it is for now. You 3 little ones, continue to train diligently with your senior uncle. We'll discuss everything else after I break through to the 8th prohibition, Bai Yunfei said to his 3 disciples. The 3 little ones nodded obediently. You also agreed with this arrangement, model. Then you should go into seclusion. The Taisheng Dao probably doesn't have the extra energy to deal with this right now. We can delay for some time. Bai Yunfei looks at you suspiciously. He doesn't know what happened, so you explain. A young divine beast, a Qilin, has appeared in the Million Great Mountains. All the masters from the Taisheng Dao have rushed over there. They want to capture the young Qilin to be their sect's guardian beast, which is why they've only been blockading the Yuha sect. Instead of launching a swift and powerful strike, as for Zhang Sun Yu this time, he also only broke through after 100 years in seclusion. A divine beast, the Qilin. Bai Yunfei looks at you in surprise and says, ever since a great war 3,000 years ago, all traces of divine beasts vanished from this world. The demon clans in the Million Great Mountains also declined because of it. Ever since a great war 3,000 years ago, all traces of divine beasts have vanished from this world. The demon clans in the Million Great Mountains declined because of it, and could only survive in a secluded corner. I never thought that after 3,000 years, a divine beast would appear again. What happened 3,000 years ago? You ask curiously. I don't know either. I've only read about it in the secret archives that only successive sect leaders can view. That war was brutal, affecting the entire cultivation world. It was during that time our founder rose up and established the Yuha sect with the Yuha Ascension Sutra. And the Taisheng Dao also seized that opportunity to leap from a third-rate minor sect to the pinnacle of the Taoist sects. Bai Yunfei explains, the sect leader's secret archives. You raise an eyebrow. That war from 3,000 years ago. There are no books in the scripture pavilion that record it, so you didn't know. So, only the sect leader can read them. The sect leader's secret archives are right inside the scripture pavilion. It's a separate small world that requires the sect leader's jade pendant to open. If senior brother wants to read them, you can go anytime. Bai Yunfei takes out the Yuha sect leader's jade pendant and hands it to you. The sect leader's jade pendant is shaped like a crescent moon and is pure white. It has a few streaks of azure blue running through it, making it look beautiful and mysterious. You're just giving the sect leader's jade pendant to me like that, you say? Bai Yunfei nods and says, actually, senior brother is more suited to view those secret archives than I am. They contain the collections of all the past sect leaders of the Yuha sect. I hope they can be of some help to your cultivation, senior brother. You don't refuse again and accept the crescent-shaped white jade pendant, saying, we'll go take a look. Bai Yunfei finishes the tea in his cup. Then he stands up and flies towards the Golden Summit Grand Hall. This time, he is determined to break through to the 8th Forbidden Realm. Bai Yunfei enters seclusion once again. The three little ones stare at you eagerly, like hungry baby birds waiting for you to feed them. Especially after seeing you effortlessly kill Qing Shan of the 7th Forbidden Realm, the three little ones are even more eager for you to pass on your cultivation experience to them. You finish the tea in your cup and begin to guide the three little ones. The three little ones have all stabilized their cultivation at the 3rd Forbidden Realm, so you start to explain some profound cultivation knowledge to them. The three little ones are like sponges. Being exceptionally talented, they understand what you explain very well. After a short while, you shoo them out and tell them to go cultivate on their own. Come and ask again if there's anything you don't understand. And just like that, you are the only one left in the tea room. You quietly sip your tea, recalling the fight between Bai Yunfei and Zhang Sun Yu and the great Dao they both displayed. The divine abilities they showcased were a real eye-opener for you. It broadened your worldview considerably. After all, for the past 100 years, the great Dao and the divine powers those two are displaying have truly opened your eyes and broadened your entire worldview. After all, though you have spent the last 100 years in the Ascension sect, when have you ever seen a battle between masters of this level? All your knowledge of the 8th restriction was just something you read in books, but what is gained from paper always feels shallow in the end. To truly understand something, you must experience it yourself, seeing it with your own eyes. Those words from the books have finally become tangible, with scene after scene flashing through your mind. You savor every detail, using the knowledge you gathered from your studies to analyze today's battle, forming entirely new insights. Slowly, a new realization dawns on you, and a line of text appears before your eyes. You focus your mind, activating your heaven-defying intuition. You have comprehended the heaven-flipping seal. While you are still lost in thought, you suddenly gasp in pleasant surprise, exclaiming, I didn't expect to activate heaven-defying intuition like this. You were just recalling Chang Sun Yu's mountain-suppressing seal. After processing it through the Ascension scripture, you already understood some of its core principles. To think you would use that to grasp the heaven-flipping seal. What is the difference between the two? Check it out with curiosity. The heaven-flipping seal is an incredibly powerful secret technique. It can literally flip heaven and earth, crushing enemies with the sheer weight of the world's momentum. Rather than just crushing them with a mountain, this is a technique that draws power from the universe itself. So, the deeper your understanding of heaven and earth, the more devastating its power becomes. At its peak, it truly can turn the world upside down. It can reverse the sun and moon, suppressing any enemy in your path. As you look closer, your eyes light up with excitement. The heaven-flipping seal, I don't even need the mountain-suppressing seal anymore. Whether in its fundamental concept or its raw power, and even its connection to the great Tao, it is far superior to the mountain-suppressing seal. Once you have figured it out, you immediately begin your cultivation. Although you now have the cultivation of the 6th restriction and can slay cultivators of the 7th. For the crisis currently facing the Ascension sect, this level of power is nowhere near enough. The threat from the Supreme Tao sect is just too immense. They are the self-proclaimed leaders of the Taoist world, although this is just a title they gave themselves and hasn't been recognized by others. No one dares to object. The Supreme Tao sect is notoriously overbearing. The reason they keep targeting the Ascension sect, aside from that incident with Zhou Sheng, is to make an example of you to warn all the other factions. It is a warning not to cross them, or they will end up just like the Ascension sect. The Supreme Tao sect's relentless siege of your sect is happening right before the world's eyes. Every major power believes the Ascension sect is doomed, especially since the disciples and the elders have all been lured away, leaving only sect master Bai Yunfei to struggle on alone. It is only a matter of time before their legacy is wiped out by the Supreme Tao sect. Their destruction is inevitable, especially given the blockade the Supreme Tao sect has maintained for years. No resources can get through. On top of that, over the last 6 months, the Supreme Tao disciples have been steadily advancing and have already reached the foot of the mountain. That is why those nearby factions come to scout every few days, not out of kindness, but because they want to see when the sect falls. Once the Supreme Tao sect takes the lion's share, they are hoping to scavenge whatever is left. After all, the Ascension sect's peaks hold quite a few spirit veins. The Supreme Tao sect is very far away, so naturally, they wouldn't station anyone here. Then they would finally have a chance. On that day, the nearby factions came to investigate as usual, only to find that the people from the Supreme Tao sect had already left. It seemed the Ascension sect had been destroyed, but before they could even get near the Ascension sect's mountain gate, they heard the explosive news being spread by the other local factions. The Supreme Tao sect had lost. Large numbers of their disciples had fled in a panic, and their 8th Prohibition Tao ancestor had been killed. Many rogue cultivators from the surrounding factions had witnessed yesterday's great battle. At first, they all believed the Supreme Tao sect would surely win and that the Ascension sect's lineage would be wiped out. But who could have guessed the tables would turn so quickly? The Supreme Tao sect's 8th Prohibition Tao ancestor was actually killed by the Ascension sect's leader, Bai Yunfei. And Bai Yunfei is only at the 7th prohibition, to kill an enemy of a higher realm, for the weak to defeat the strong. Defying the odds to slay someone at the 8th prohibition, the news spread like wildfire. However, news traveled slowly among the rogue cultivators in the markets, so for a time, the story only circulated in the local area. That is, until members of the major factions came by and heard the news. They were utterly stunned, completely unable to believe it. They immediately rushed to spread the word: the Supreme Tao sect had been defeated at the Ascension sect. In time, the news spread like a blizzard across the entire cultivation world. The Supreme Tao sect, the Ascension sect, Bai Yunfei, a 7th prohibition killing an 8th prohibition. These stories sprung up everywhere, reaching everyone's ears. For a while, Bai Yunfei's fame skyrocketed. People started digging up stories about his past. Only then did everyone realize that the current leader of the Ascension sect was actually a hidden genius. This news remained a hot topic for the next several days. Everyone was speculating on what kind of technique Bai Yunfei could have possibly used to slay an 8th prohibition master while only at the 7th prohibition. A few days later, a rumor, from who knows where, began to circulate. Bai Yunfei had comprehended the Ascension scripture. That was how he killed the 8th prohibition master. This news struck like a bolt from the blue. It shocked everyone into disbelief. Bai Yunfei had comprehended the Ascension scripture. Many people eagerly rushed to the Supreme Tao sect to confirm the rumor, hoping to find out if it was true. The Supreme Tao sect closed its doors, refusing all visitors and offering no comment on the matter. Since the Supreme Tao sect didn't deny it, the world assumed it was true. In time, in the markets and streets, and within the great halls of power, everyone was discussing this very thing. Back in the day, the founder of the Ascension sect had relied on the Ascension scripture to become invincible at the 9th prohibition. It's a god-level technique. And that's not all. It was rumored that the Ascension sect's founder had broken through the 9th prohibition and reached the legendary 10th prohibition. That's how the Ascension sect was able to leap to the ranks of the top Taoist sects in such a short time. 300 years ago, the Ascension sect suffered a great catastrophe with devastating casualties. The complete Ascension scripture was lost, and the Ascension sect has been in decline ever since. Who would have thought that now, someone has finally comprehended the Ascension scripture again? It's unbelievable. Actually, over 100 years ago, someone else also comprehended the Ascension scripture, in a situation just like this one. He also slew an 8th prohibition master while at the 7th prohibition, causing a massive uproar. Here's a little known fact: over 100 years ago, the person who comprehended the complete Ascension scripture was named Zhou Sheng. He was the most brilliant disciple of his generation in the Ascension sect. Here's a little known fact: back when Zhou Sheng was at the 7th prohibition, he defied the odds and killed someone at the 8th prohibition. The person he killed was named Chang Sun Wuji. Now, Bai Yunfei, also at the 7th prohibition, has defied the odds and killed someone at the 8th prohibition. That person's name is Chong Kongyu. They were biological brothers, 2 blood brothers, both killed by the Feather Transformation Ascension Sutra. This news spread like wildfire. Everyone who heard it found it incredible. It was just too dramatic. Over 100 years ago, the older brother was slain by someone of a lower rank. He died by the Feather Transformation Ascension Sutra. Over 100 years later, the younger brother was also slain by someone of a lower rank, and also died by the Feather Transformation Ascension Sutra. Both were at the 8th prohibition, and both were from the Supreme Path. For a time, the cultivation world, which had been peaceful for so long, was like a ladle of water thrown into a wok of hot oil. It instantly erupted. This incident was being discussed everywhere. Bai Yunfei became completely known throughout the cultivation world. But then there's you. You also managed to defeat someone of a higher level. However, you were at the 6th prohibition defeating someone at the 7th, so no one mentioned it. Compared to the high drama surrounding Bai Yunfei, your achievement didn't make any waves at all. No one cared in the slightest. And for you, this was a good thing. You had no desire to be discussed by others, especially with your current low level of cultivation. Being too famous isn't good. You just hope to stay within the scripture pavilion. Quietly comprehend the Tao, cultivate, and improve yourself. You just hope to stay within the scripture pavilion, quietly comprehending the Tao and cultivating, improving yourself. During these few days when the outside world was in a frenzy of discussion, you had already successfully mastered the heaven-flipping seal. Your cultivation level also increased a bit, but it was far from enough to break through to the 7th prohibition. You took out the crescent-shaped white jade pendant that Bai Yunfei had given you, and headed towards the headmaster's secret trove. You were going to open the secret trove to see what was inside. The headmaster's secret trove is located inside the scripture pavilion, but it's actually a separate world that requires a key to open. Otherwise, no one can get in. You had managed the scripture pavilion for 100 years, and you never knew about this place. If Bai Yunfei hadn't told you, you would have never imagined that there was a hidden, small world inside the scripture pavilion. This small world isn't located anywhere else. Its entrance is right on the top floor of the scripture pavilion. Holding the crescent jade pendant, you walked here and found that the pendant was glowing and growing warm. Trembling slightly, guiding you in the right direction, you slowly adjusted your position, pinpointing the location of this hidden, small world. Once you had confirmed the location, the crescent jade pendant grew quiet. Though it was still glowing, you held the pendant in the palm of your hand, and gently touched the space in front of you. The empty space suddenly rippled, like a stone had been tossed into a calm pond. Your palm passed right through this space. With the crescent jade pendant, you were completely unharmed. Confirming that this was the entrance to the hidden, small world, you walked straight in. your entire body vanished from the top floor of the scripture pavilion. Your vision was obscured by a flash of white light. You couldn't see anything. After waiting for a moment, your vision cleared and you saw the scene before you. The top floor of the scripture pavilion leads to a bamboo forest in the small world. Walk west for 120 steps and you can hear the sound of flowing water. Follow the path and you will see a lake. In the glow of the sunset, the lake mirrored the sky. There were fiery clouds, a breathtaking sight. The lake was vast. Looking out across it, you could see distant green mountains, dark as ink, and lush, vigorous trees. Closer in, there was an island in the middle of the lake. On the island was a large boulder, and on that boulder, a tortoise. It was lazily sunbathing. Over here, on the shore, stood a continuous range of countless mountain peaks. But a cave had been carved into each peak. You wondered what was inside them. So you walked over to investigate, entering the cave nearest to you. What met your eyes were rows upon rows of neatly arranged books. Entering the cave nearest to you. What met your eyes were rows upon rows of neatly arranged books. This place must have been created by the past sect masters of the Feathering sect. They stored books here that weren't suitable for the scripture pavilion, for the exclusive viewing of the Feathering sect's master. You silently surmised. You casually picked up a secret manual from one of the shelves and began to flip through it, a complete collection of incomplete ancient formations. To be worthy of the title, ancient, a formation must be absolutely world-shaking. Though it was incomplete, it was indeed unsuitable for the scripture pavilion. Strictly speaking, the books in the scripture pavilion could be borrowed by any disciple of the Feathering sect, so most of them were quite ordinary. They only recorded the basic knowledge of the cultivation world. Anything beyond that, like this complete collection of ancient formations, was kept in this hidden micro-world. You flipped through a few pages. As expected, it was incredibly complex. The patterns of the formations, the links between them, and the interwoven runes were all exceedingly intricate. It was like a celestial scripture. Without patient and meticulous study, it was impossible to understand. So, you quickly put it down, and picked up another one. Essentials of Cultivation from the 7th to the 9th Realm. These were the principles of cultivation compiled by the founder of the Feathering sect, specifically for the 7th through 9th realms. The explanations were incredibly detailed. You only flipped through a few pages, and were instantly captivated. You didn't even look at the other books. Instead, you carried this book over to the edge of the lake, sat down on the green grass, and basked in the gentle sunlight. You began to read it carefully. The founder of the Feathering sect had been a supreme master of the cultivation world. It was rumored that he had broken through the barrier of the 9th realm and entered the legendary 10th realm. So you were filled with anticipation for the cultivation essentials he had written. I've already entered the 6th realm. The next step is to break through to the 7th. So this is the perfect time to read these cultivation essentials. Full of expectation, you began to read about the 7th realm, the spiritual platform's immortal trove. Unlike the previous major realms, this realm was about opening the immortal trove within the world of one's primordial spirit. The book stated that everyone's primordial spirit is an inexhaustible treasure trove that can never be depleted. The cultivation of the 7th realm is all about excavating the treasures within one's spiritual platform and primordial spirit. That's why it's called the spiritual platform's immortal trove. As for how to excavate it, you read the book carefully. The founder had written about it in great detail. Different people unearth different things. Some unearth an innate saint body, while others unearth a massive power of the primordial soul. Some can only unearth a few times their mana, while others unearth a massive power of the primordial soul. Some can only unearth a few times their mana. It really varies from person to person. But how do you unearth it? You keep reading, your mind filled with questions. To unearth the primordial soul, you must first understand its very root. Only by gaining insight into your own primordial soul can you dig up your own treasures in this hidden land. Some people have cultivated their primordial soul and even sensed the Tao rhyme. But they don't understand their own primordial soul at all, so they can't unearth a single treasure to save their lives. Therefore, to break through to the 7th realm, the first step is to truly know your own primordial soul. Gain insight into its essence and realize the very root of your primordial soul. Only then can you begin to unearth the treasure. You see this, and take a hard look at yourself, realizing you've never truly understood your own primordial soul. Break through the 7th realm, you need a deep insight into your primordial soul. But how do you gain that insight? You continue reading, feeling quite puzzled. Within the book, the founding master left behind a solution. Clear your mind entirely. Treat your physical body and your primordial soul as two separate entities. Have a face-to-face dialogue. You ponder this deeply. How on earth can I clear my mind completely? You think for a long, long time. Still, you have no clue. A person's thoughts are constantly influenced by the outside world. So many different thoughts keep popping up. To clear them all, you need to be completely cut off from the world. Thinking this, you look around this empty, small world. Does this count as being cut off? But even here in this small world, you still can't manage to clear your mind. Suddenly, you spot a crystal clear lake up ahead. You set the book down and jump right in. Splash, you don't even try to float on the surface. You sink straight to the bottom. Down there, fish and shrimp are swimming freely. The water plants sway, and the silt settles gently. You lie there on the bottom, looking up through the clear water. You see the brilliant starry sky, magnificent and vast. It's mysterious and beautiful, like the entire Milky Way has been poured out right before your eyes. Gradually, you become entranced by the sight. Your whole being slips into a state of enlightenment. Deep within your sea of consciousness, vast galaxy appears, swirling around your primordial soul. At this very moment, you truly gain insight into your own primordial soul. Surrounded by the galaxy, your primordial soul looks like an ancient star god. It shines brilliantly, perfectly in tune with your heart. A connection beyond limits. Boom. In this instant, every single star in the sky, from the incredibly distant void, they shoot down infinitely long beams of light, piercing through the lake water. They fall right onto your brow, entering your Niwan palace. Your primordial soul absorbs it all. As the starlight enters your mind, you feel a refreshing chill wash over you, and your primordial soul feels as if it's bathing in a gentle spring breeze. Every pore on your body is breathing. You feel like you're drifting among the clouds. A line of text appears before your eyes. You have gained insight into your own primordial spirit. Heaven-defying comprehension activated. You have comprehended. Bright moon over the sea. You have activated your comprehension, achieving a heaven-defying understanding of bright moon over the sea. You immediately awaken from that mysterious and profound state. You haven't left the bottom of the lake. Instead, you lie there quietly, examining bright moon over the sea. This isn't a technique, it's a phenomenon. You remember reading a book, and on its pages it said, "Heaven and earth record certain special moments, like scenes of natural beauty, or a period in the life of a powerful being, or even an epitome of an entire era." These moments, recorded by heaven and earth, are called phenomena. Phenomena exist throughout the world, and you can learn to comprehend them. It all depends on your own skill. Of course, there are also those blessed with great fortune, or those who have received a blessing and are born with a natural phenomenon. Their futures are immeasurable. The bright moon over the sea, you comprehend it as one such phenomenon. The sea, in Bright Moon Over the Sea, is a sea of stars. A bright moon rising from this cosmic ocean. It outshines all the other stars in the heavens. The Tao rhythm I comprehended is, a fish leaps across the sea. Now, adding bright moon over the sea. If I were to use them both at the same time, the power would be absolutely immense, you think with delight. You immediately unleash bright moon over the sea. In an instant, the calm lake begins to churn with surging waves, growing into a raging torrent. Then, a bright moon can be seen, slowly rising from the water. The moonlight casts a sacred glow over the lake, radiating a terrifying pressure. Bright moon over the sea. This moon's brilliance could rival that of the actual moon in the sky. Beneath the bright moon, you walk upon the waves. Your bearing is as graceful as a celestial being. The next second, you raise your hand and turn it over slightly. Rumble. Beneath this bright moon, a giant white carp suddenly leaps out from the surging waters of the lake. Its eyes hold yin and yang, a reflection of the Tao's natural way. A fish leaps across the sea. Exactly as I thought, your guess was correct. Bright moon over the sea can be combined with a fish leaps across the sea. In fact, when they are layered, their power is even greater. Unfortunately, you still haven't broken through to the seventh realm. You look at the bright moon and the giant white carp, and sigh softly, this time, gaining insight into your primordial spirit.